Where's okay. Audio settings, testing. Okay, yep. All right. All right. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What is going on, family? Right. Of course, this is impromptu. It's spur of the moment. It's let's update the obvious, right? It is more of what we've discussed all week, all month, all year thus far, right? Leading up to the culmination of today. And of course, we went in last night, stayed up pretty late discussing the probability that we will have some kind of form of a selection, of course, by the weekend, but even more so today. Seems that we were spot on. It seemed to be pretty evident and obvious, but we now have, again, unofficially, officially uh, elected President Joe Biden now as the leader of America. Of course, I'm not going to use the free world spin. I feel like that's disrespectful and it's ignorant in 2020 to be saying some foolishness like that, as if an American president is governing the shores of other people's nations and country. But of course, we know they use that a lot to try to describe the inherent quote unquote spread of power influence that America has on other nations. That's fine and dandy too, where they will find a liking to want to be, you know, somewhat, aspiring to have the somewhat civil liberties and freedoms that this country poses, obviously from a window dressing perspective. But I beg to say that some of these other countries have more of a freedom value than what goes on here. It could be debated. I get it. People will push back and say, you know what? Hey, you know, how dare you say that? Well, I say it because again, I am a child of the universe. I'm not a child of, your little small little box. All right. So with that being said, peace, power, and profit to everybody. Uncle Jocelyn there. Welcome to the live. It is 12 noon, 12:20 to be exact, on this November the 7th. It is going down. We have now again witnessed this country. Of course, I say this country because I didn't participate in the reindeer games. Don't come from my throat. Don't come from me or mine. Of course, I did not vote for neither of these guys. I did not see a viable candidate that was willing to give exactly what I wanted in my list of tangibles. So I let everybody else, partake and speak on that behalf for whoever they wanted. I'm just still going to sit back and do like I've always done and formulate a ground game and strategy to figure out a way to build my own wealth, right? To figure out a way to build my own way, lay my own foundation, build my own bridges, and go forward from there, right? So, again, that's just my lane. That's where I get my hair done at, like Cat Williams would say, and that's just what it is, right? Doesn't negate the fact that where you guys are today in terms of how you may feel about this election. Again, I welcome anybody to have, a stance or an opinion or value or fact or whatever. That's just what makes us all unique and different. So if you voted for Trump, if you did vote for Biden, right? Hey, my best to you all, right? My best to y'all. You have that right. And there's no, slight or, value where people can tell you that, you know, you did, wrong by voting for either of the two. That's just how you valued their positions, right? And this is to how you feel like it was something needed, right? Or it had to be done. In a lot of ways, if you say that from the aspect of the election, the way that it turned out, of course, it's still going to be a litigation process here. It's not over, right? Let's not get ahead of ourselves because it's not over. Technically, it is over on a pretty much on an official side value, but it's not over, directly. But of course, we knew again the last couple of days where this thing was going. Right? Let's not even placate. Now it becomes a thing where we now have to sit, watch, and wait and react. And I say that because we know this is going to be a firework storm for who? Our boy Donald J. Trump. He right now, pretty much right now, he's at Trump National Golf Course golfing. Literally, right now, he's at Trump National Golf Course golfing. I mean, he, of course, used that place very religiously during his time of what, right? The pandemic, right? He went golfing a lot while a lot of people were going through certain things and suffering and whatever. He spent the majority of his time out there on the golf course, right? And as you can see right here, I mean, up there, Sterling, Virginia. Of course, y'all know that's pretty much my backyard, right? I'm really not that far from Trump National Golf Course, literally right around the corner, right? All these so-called, Republicans up here, but it's a lot of, immigrant class, well-to-do, so to speak, affluent people that live up in this area. And I can almost assure you, if I leave my home and go around, probably around the corner or not too far up there to the Trump National, there's going to be some people out there. I can only imagine what it will be. I'm just being honest. I can only imagine what it will be. Uh, if him, and his crew is getting ready to mobilize at some point and drive back into, into inner city DC, what that will be like. Like it's kind of like, that walk of shame, that drive of shame. Of course, this ain't me going in on it, but I'm gonna go in on it because if Biden would have lost, I would have went in on Biden, no different. And I'm still gonna go in on Biden because again, y'all know I have, my stance when it comes to both of them. I think both of them were like, again, the two weakest candidates that this country could have put forth at this stage, right? At this stage, in terms of what we all dealing with, I put all those things on the table, right? But of course, everybody has what, some right, some values, some things of worth that because is relevant in Trump's administration, and also that of what Joe Biden, right? Clock is right twice a day. A clock is right twice a day, but there's no linear aspect to how we should value any what particular candidate, right? There's no linear value, right? There are shades of gray, meaning you can disagree with people, right? It don't have to be all or nothing, right? To take that stance, that's more like childlike disposition, right? And we don't do all or nothings over here, right? We just don't do that, right? We're logical, reasonable, and reasonable, people, right? We're reasonable people, right? We use our logic, we use our reason, we use our brain, right? So that's your boy out there right now getting it in, right? Got there at the golf course, right? And I'm pretty sure, of course, as you see here, literally, right? Here's 1 hour ago, Trump said what? He won the election, right? He won the election. And people already coming out with the memes right there, right? Got him, got his hands under some stirrups there almost. He can't get to that Twitter now, right? He feeling some kind of way, right? Because all these little tweets now are gonna fall somewhere only on the ears of people who what still what circle their wagons around him. But it won't be in essence to the tune where the country will look at him and at any point going forward and his tweets as a somewhat of a reprimand to his values and his views to people who do not align themselves with his agenda. Right, the power of his influence is great. It will not necessarily even go down in flames, right? Because he still will be a figurehead. Of course, again, officially they call Biden the president. Trump will be a figurehead that will still have a lot of influence. And it's a lot of people out there right now who are seething their ability to not necessarily reconcile the idea that their guy lost. Again, we know that a lot of militias came enacted under Trump. Of course, the white supremacist scenarios became radical. Of course, not my words. This just based upon the historical data, and also the information that the FBI been putting out, that there have been more of these groups popping up out of nowhere. We saw what was happening. I was in Charlottesville. We saw what happened in Charlottesville, right? We saw what happened at Stone Mountain, right? We saw what happened all around the country when these so-called groups were radicalized. We saw what happened in Michigan, right? These people stormed the Michigan, place, courthouse, governor's place up there, the Capitol up there, right? Was looking to kind of take it over and all this stuff. We saw these things happening, right? Utah and out west and everywhere. We saw these things happening. And so for someone to say, well, I didn't see any of this happen, well, what rock were you living underneath? So with now that these people are having to kind of deal with the idea that if they need are going to accept this L and not do nothing to retaliate, that's where now within the next at least month, at least everybody has to be on guard. Everybody's going to have to be on guard. White, black, purple, green, don't matter who you are, because somebody is going to try to do something silly. Let's just be honest. Somebody going to try to do something silly, right? Somebody's not going to be able to take this L, right? And they're going to try to take it out on other people, right? And so that's just the reality of things, where we can't be, out there or caught out there, thinking that, no, ain't nobody gonna try nothing like that, right? Ain't nobody gonna try nothing like that, right? Because y'all know it's gonna happen. And I'm not trying to speak it into the existence of the universe, but we already know what you're dealing with. You already know who you're, what and who you're dealing with, right? So just be cognizant of that. Be cognizant of that. Make sure you're aware of that. It's the reason why people were buying what? A lot of ammunition, a lot of weapons, right? Ahead of this election. Not my words. This is based on the data. It's the reason why people are buying all those things. The majority of the people that were buying those things were not so-called quote unquote democratic minded people. They were people who were Republican minded, who were somewhat radicalized under the idea that Trump was obviously going to make America again. And if he did not get reelected, of course, it's a conspiracy. We're going to burn this place down. It's like when like a team wins a hockey match, right? Right? A lot of people that love hockey, they go burn down their cities and burn down their blocks. Matter, even if they won, they still go set everything on fire. True story. Right? Obviously, when a black person is, brutally shot down, shot a gun down, right, unlawfully, whatever, and people begin to say, "Hey, man, we're tired of this," and we get to marching, and some stuff pop out. Then it's like, well, see, about that. Why are you people always demolishing the country? But it's okay to burn down the country or burn down the city when a person wins a sporting event. Wins the sporting event, you burn it down. I mean, even if it's your team that won, you still gonna burn it down, right? That kind of reality. So when I'm speaking in essence to the psychology aspect here. So when people now who are in a position where they can't necessarily take this information for what it is, because their so-called God got defeated, their emperor got defeated, right? This might just be the energy that they put forth. So of course, I'm just here to say, hey, like, you don't need me to tell you that, but you need somebody to go ahead and tell you that. Be careful, right? Be careful. Right? I'm tempted to drive down inner city DC today. Of course, y'all know I live in suburbia DC. You want to say that, right? I'm not in the inner city, but it's people already out there massing right now. It's big crowds of people already massing. I already, got a little text message here, right? And I look, been checking some of the news feeds. So people are obviously starting to mass in and around DC right now. They finna have a turn up party like none other. It's already happening in New York. It's already happening in LA. It's already happening in Phoenix. It's already happening in Atlanta, right? All these major cities are finna pop off tonight. I'm saying people are going to celebrate, of course, but it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen, right? Like I said, Sister G Dale said, people keeping it real in my area. People broke into sporting goods stores and start stealing rifles. I couldn't believe that. I can believe that. I can believe that. Right? It's again, Walmart put out that press release not too long ago saying that it was going to remove all the guns out of their stores, and then they was kind of ordered to put them back. Right? I say ordered because I think somebody higher up was like, man, you can't do that, right? You can't, try to police, uncertainty, right, or whether it's going to happen or not happen. Right? It kind of reminds me of that old school Tom Cruise movie, right? Y'all remember that old school movie about the precogs? They were trying to lock people up for crimes they hadn't committed yet. Right? I forgot the name of that movie. Not Mission Impossible, but what was the name of that movie? But yeah, they were just knocking people up before they even committed the crime. It was just like we went in the future and saw that you was going, break into McDonald's and steal a cheeseburger. We're gonna lock you up right now, give you on 10 to 20, right? But no, that's basically how they're trying to present this scenario. So, of course, there are going to be Minority Report. That's it. Thank you, over T-Bone. Right? What's going on with families as well? Minority Report. That's basically what's going on right now. The Minority Report right now for Trump is like, what? How do we deal with this? How do we either radicalize people to get them more fired at the fact that we were cheated, which obviously going to make people even more pissed off. They're going to go out there and try to do something crazy, or they just going to have to, smart people going to have to come up, step up. Right? The adults going to have to step up in the room, like, look. If there's any chance we got left to deal with this, if we got any proof of voter fraud, let's take it before the courts. That's our only chance. We can't sit here and say it's fraud without producing evidence. That's not how the court system works. No matter how you scream and rant and whine, you have to be able to provide evidence that should be withstanding in the court of law. That's just how this stuff works. If you got evidence, you best be bringing it forth, and you better be doing it right now before more energy starts to galvanize around the idea that you completely lost, right? What little people who are still riding with you at this point, you need to be able to convince them that you got something that's smoking. You have a smoking gun, because if you drag this out and just keep saying it at this point, and you don't relinquish any evidence, then it's only going to make you look better. It's going to make the Republican Party itself look worse. It's going to make them look bad. And it's going to really draw a stark contrast of people who was riding with this guy all this long, taking everything he's been saying for face value. Again, he's not a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's not none of these things, but he took the liberty to say he was the author and the orchestrator of all information that was coming out of the White House. And he was the last say so. Despite what the scientists say, despite what, the laws say, despite what, the consensus says in these, respected, fields of study, period, across the board, he took that role as the emperor, right? He broke up the system. Of course, I love that about him. That's one thing I say I love about President Trump. He shook up Washington in a way where they can't go back to the status quo ever again. He exposed a lot of this kind of benign neglect, red line, faking it, acting like they do, he exposed a lot of that. He did that. He showed you that executive orders can come down from the president and get things done. Of course, people didn't take Barack Obama to task on that. They just like, well, he can't do anything. He ain't got any power. That's a lie. President Trump showed you exactly what power looks like as sitting at the presidency seat. He exposed all that. So Obama do not get a pass. Find out that he was just more the same. He was just more the same. The typical bureaucrat, politician, doing the will of his handlers. Taking care of everybody else's issue and not necessarily taking for the people who really sent him to Washington. And so I'm just saying, of course, y'all know our stance over here, right? Financial literacy is going to rule our roost, right? Right? We still going to get paid regardless. We're going to get paid regardless. And so real quick, since we're speaking about that, if we run over here and look and see how the market is starting to react, because, we're going to be watching these markets very closely, obviously, for a reason. Right now, weekend Wall Street is showing that the market is up. The Dow is up 87 points as of right now. We were told that if, of course, President Trump loses, of course, it's not official, but if he loses, his words, not mine, that the stock market was going to crash, right? That the stock market was going to crash. Well, right now, y'all just saw it's just gapped up from 87 to 92. Apparently, somebody's not thinking the same way. Now, this could obviously change going into what? Right? Look at that. See it starting to tick up. Y'all seen this thing happen in real time. Look at it, 98. I'm talking in real time, and the people are already starting to submit their entry orders, their limit orders, things like that. You're getting ready for what? For Sunday's future market. This is the weekend Wall Street tracker. The chart that look at it, 101. You see it's going up right now as we're speaking. This is real time, guys. Real time. Will it hold? That's to be determined. But somebody, like I said before, when I was speaking about yesterday, somebody's betting on what? A Biden president to try to somewhat swipe at or, tell Trump that you don't have any more power over Wall Street anymore. Could it just be, like I said, this is why, they were already kind of setting the precedence that we're going to ride with Joe Biden. We're going to back Joe Biden. We're going to fund this campaign because we realize at this point in the game, again, typically Wall Street does much better under Democratic presidents. Not my words, not my bias, right? Because y'all know I'm neutral, but that's what the historical data says. The stock market always does better on a Democratic president because they're most liberal with the cash. They're the most liberal with the cash. So, who knows? We'll see. Right? This is our election. Our election is what? Trying to figure out how we're gonna get this money. Right? How are we gonna continuously keep riding this Gravy Valley? I agree with that, Family G there. Trump being an outsider and a non-career politician upset Dems and Republicans. I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that. And so again, it's to be commended in that perspective because it broke the mold. People can't go back to saying that because y'all know the Democratic Party, of course, is a party of benign neglect. They are truly the party of what? Redlining and favoritism. Well, you say, well, of course, the Republicans are because they hate everybody. They racist, they white supremacist, this, that, third. You know where they come from. They come straight down the middle in terms of their policies, though. Democrats always hiding that. They always hide their hand. They always hide in their hand. They smile and then do the their stuff behind what your back. That's just the difference. That's just the reality. Of course, I've lived in this country like everybody else. I know what's going on here, right? I know what's going on here. You're not gonna convince me otherwise just because of we got a president elect, a new. I mean, again, it's the same old. No matter what, right wing, left wing, same buzzard, right? Right wing, left wing, same buzzard. That's just how it is. That's just the reality of things. Of course, when you ask yourself, do you have a dog in the fight? Well, prove to me you have a dog in the fight, right? Prove to me you have a dog in the fight because it has to be more than just symbology, right? It has to be more than a symbolic gesture or a symbolic win. I need to see literally, right, where you're gonna, obviously be able to provide me some kind of value or view how, this president's going to change your status quo, change your situation. And it has to be more than just saying, of course, we're just trying to get what, Trump out of office. Because ultimately, let's be honest, right? How did black people scenario get any worse or get any better? And I'm speaking to my black base at this point here. I know I got, the other fam in the house this evening too, but I'm just speaking from a place that because that's how a lot of people analyze a lot of data. We analyze this country in a very polarized fashion in a lot of ways, right? A lot of it kind of delved down through race and all that stuff, right? Again, this is what they set up. We didn't set this up. They set it up this way. And because of that, you had people again going to task and acting certain kind of ways and getting all in their feelings and this, that, and the third, and again, making it these incendiary threats against people that if you don't, re-elect my guy, or you don't do this, or you don't, get him out of office on both sides, right? You had that coming from both sides, right? Joe Biden said it out of his own mouth. If you don't vote for me, you're not black, right? If you're not voting for Democrat, you're not black. His words out of his own mouth. He said that if you're not voting for me and the Democrats, you are not black. As if there is a what automatic mandate that if you black in this country, you better be voting for what Democrats. Kind of like that kind of scenario. You better be voting for Democrats. I mean, couldn't make this stuff up. So it's a reason why Trump was able to garner 8% of the black male vote. It was a reason why he was able to garner 8% of the black male vote. And he also was able to pick up more black African American women votes this time around. True story. True story. And so this is just the reality of things, right? We're not finna sit here and act like we don't know this thing. So again, left wing, right wing, same buzzer. For us, how do we make some money? How can I help my sister Play Hot Ventures make a bag? How can I help my sister GDL make some money? How can I help my brother Ramsey make some money? How can I help over Chris make some money? How can I help brother Mathis improve his financial situation? Right? These are things we need to talk about. How can I help my family, brother T-Bone, get paid? Right? Over Branson get some money. Right? Help over Caesar get this bag. Right? Help my family Sean John get paid. Anybody else that's been listening, how can we help each other get paid? Because that's the neutralizer. The neutralizer will and forever be putting people in a position to win. How can I help my family Sawa, walk into this opportunity? Right? That will always and forever be the reason why we need to be circling our wagons. Right? If you want to use the melting pot scenario, of course, if you look at it from that perspective, the market officer is not what? It doesn't care who you are, white, black, purple, gender, none of that. It just cares, can you figure out how to way to what? Extrapolate money from me. How can you take advantage of this capital market, right? All this global commerce where people making billions and trillions of dollars or is moving around the world on a daily basis. How much of it can you capture? Because I tell you what, when you got, that kind of power, then no Republican, no Democrat, no state, no city, no county, no township, whatever, really can dictate your way of life, your livelihood, whether they got jobs in that area or they don't, right? Your money gonna spend just the same if you find a way to what? Make your money, void of waiting on them to build up the what? That industry. Whether you day trading in South Carolina with a low GDP, right? Low economy standard down there, the cost of living is very low, and you make $1,000 down in the stock market and living in South Carolina, well, that $1,000 gonna go a long way in South Carolina. If you living in LA and you make $1,000, of course the cost of living a little bit more expensive over there. That means you just have to be a little bit more what? You know, target a sniper and make a little bit more money to kind of what? Accommodate your living quarters or condition in that what? More expensive state. Same way with New York. You see what I'm going with that? Of course, if there's no industry, there's no jobs, there's no situation, if the pandemic still going on, you can't go to work, how are you still going to be able to put food on the table? How are you still going to be able to make some ends meet, right? Of course, this all comes with context because you have to learn to be proficient in this craft. But I'm just saying we have something that separates us from everybody else who are scared and afraid, and they're dependent upon a government, a Republican or a Democrat, to tell them how and when they can live their life in this country. And we do not. So we are the moneycrats. Of course, again, that's why we are the moneycrats. Our political party, right? We pretty much coined that, right? We the moneycrats, right? Right? We're the ones sitting around figuring out, okay, yeah, who gets elected, still getting paid. This person get elected, still finna get paid, or still going to be in a position to figure out a way to get paid, right? Because I can't sit here and lay out a litany of different topics and things we can talk about and go in on both candidates, and right, and we can just go be back and forth, and everybody be like, man, but see, but no, are those things truly important? Are those things truly important? When we just again went over last night about what the wealth gap. We went over last night about all these different what scenarios, how people are making tons of money right now during this pandemic, and have made a ton of money during this pandemic, right? Tons of it. And a lot of people are still convinced that no, well, see about that, but see, they earned it, right? Well, what separates you from them? Okay, you're gonna wait for a stimulus check, a $1,200 potentially stimulus check. Of course, your bill's been late what months ago. Your needs been unanswered months ago. You called your politician, you called your local senator, you just been cold calling the government. Hey, y'all gonna do something? Y'all gonna do anything? Right? Y'all gonna do anything? Hey, y'all gonna do anything? And guess what they've been doing? Well, see, well, see. You see how that works? So why people will get excited and get all of their feelings on these symbolic victories, they still fail to realize when they go home after celebrating out in the streets tonight, they still gonna be faced with all these same problems that have been sitting there before they left and went out their house today. And it's this hope that this next guy gonna come in, right, and what really change things. And America also spoke in a way where people fail to accept that too. Well, the Senate still somewhat is still in control of the Senate at this point. As at the latest count, they're still up in the vote. That means if they still hold down the Senate, they're gonna do like they did with Obama. What did they do? Did a lot of blocking. They blocked a lot of legislation. So that's the duality or the balance of America, where you have this kind of party scenario where you can't have one side having all the power, the other don't. So it has a scenario. It has to become a scenario where you think, where the adults have to step up and be the adults and learn how to negotiate across quote unquote party lines. Now you ask yourself, do you really see that happening in a way where it should be, galvanizing and benefiting for people who have issues need to be answered like today or yesterday to be exact? Do you really see that happening right out the gate? Do you really do you really see, both sides coming together day one, right? Let's say after the inauguration, of course, everything, becomes official because it's still unofficial, but it's official in some cases of the elect value, right? Do you think they're going to come together day one and make something happen? That's what that's what we're going to be watching, because in that breath, Wall Street is going to be trying to figure out how can they benefit off of it, right? How can they benefit off of it? As if they've been doing that the entire pandemic. They've been doing that the entire pandemic. So where we're going to use logic and reason, we're not going to use all this filibustering. We're not going to be doing all this kind of, trying to play this, ace detective, trying to figure out whether, Trump is right and they you know, mess the balance up. Because I say this here, what power do you have to change it? What dog in the fight do you really have? Ask yourself that question. What dog in the fight do you really have to change this situation? Right? And again, it still becomes a congeniality scenario to a degree. We're focusing on tangibles. We're focusing on tangibles. We're focusing on tangibles, not symbology. I know this country has a lot of issues that still need to be reckoned. We understand that. But somewhat, of course, if you're not a political activist and you're not just kind of on the ground every day, then literally you have to try to figure out a way to still float your own boat, right? You still have to figure out a way to float your own boat, right? So again, that's why we stay over here strategizing how to figure out a way to get some money, because we know that's an equalizer. We know that at the end of the day, having resources at your exposure is an equalizer to a president, a political party, a state value, a city ordinance. Having resources at your disposal is revolutionary. That's why with people who got money, they sit here and look down on people who out there going through all this stuff and this, in their feelings about this election and this, that, third. They like, yeah, see, look at them. We're gonna capitalize off their fear. We're gonna capitalize off their happiness. We're gonna capitalize off their emotions. Period. We're gonna make money off of it one way or other. That's what people with money think about. That's what they're thinking about right now. How can we capitalize on all these, these people? It's kind of sickening to a degree, isn't it? But that's just how things are here, right? So again, we're understanding that, but we're going to stay proficient. We're going to stay focused. We're going to stay logical, right? We're going to stay reasonable, right? We're going to use deductive reasoning, right? We're not going to let people suck our emotions, suck us into this, emotional vortex and get us in our feelings. We're not a part of that reality, right? Of course, we're going to focus on figuring out a way to get us some resources, right? Constructing opportunities, finding ways to help people establish a business, whatever the case. Of course, we do that on the Urban Empowerment Show. Sister Monica, Brother Garfield, Office and Clean Up Credit, all these different things that are trying to help people's situation on a real tangible level. Tangibles matter, right? That kind of scenario, tangibles matter, right? We work and we provide invoices and receipts. That's what we do over here. We're not going to spend 7-8 hours talking about, feelings. Right? That's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to spend all that time talking about feelings and things that are somewhat trivial to a degree. Not to say they don't have a place in conversation and debate and this, that, and the third, but ultimately, at some point, we got to get back to the things that obviously move the needle in our homes, right? Things that move the needles in our home, that helps us put grocery on the shelves, that helps us be in a position to potentially pay bills, things that nature. Those are the things that people should be circling their wagon on right now. And I know it comes within the ideal that, yeah, but we still need to make sure we have progressive policies and conservative policies, and however you look at that perspective, again, those things will iron themselves out, because again, if the silent majority, right, becomes the raging majority, ultimately you still got gridlock between two parties that's still going to play this game back and forth. It's like political ping pong. It's political ping pong. You still gonna be in hurry up and wait mode. I spoke about that last night. You're gonna go straight to hurry up and wait mode. You're gonna go 100% straight into hurry up and wait mode. How long have you been waiting on the second stimulus check? How long have you been waiting on the second stimulus check? Or more, added value to the PPE loans, right? And the ILD loans and all these things like that. How long we been waiting on this stuff? Right? So of course, this is why, right? This is why we're not waiting. We chose not to wait on government. We chose not to wait on political posturing and pandering, pontificating, the filibustering, the usual rhetoric, excuse me, the hyperbole. We chose not to wait on those things. And a lot of people woke up during this pandemic like, I got to make some moves. And they say, you know what, man, about this stock market stuff, about this investing stuff, about this crypto market, about this forex market. Hey, show me the way a little bit. Give me some material to read. Give me something that I can work with, because I want to have ability to fall back just in case things go south. That's where we stepped up. We've been doing it forever, of course, but even more so during this pandemic, and stepped up and said, hey, guys, come on, hang out with us. We humble, right? We're not prideful. We're not egotistical people. We're just average, everyday people, like the average people out there who, take life serious and want to have something better in life. And we say, hey, we got some information. How can we share this with everybody? How can we grow your scenario? How can we put some power in your hands, back in your hands, so to speak? How can we put the power that you are deserving of back in your hands? Because if you wait on, the system in a lot of ways, well, it's going to let you down. Has it not? It has always let people down, right? It has always set people up for the okie doke, right? Because a day like today, right, as monumental as it may be for a lot of people, it really only gets people excited on this side. It gets these kind of people excited, right? These people, because they're getting paid to cover it. This is their day, right? They're like, okay, yeah, we like to play this, this soap opera called politics, right? The soap opera value called politics, and yet they still get to get a check, while doing it. A lot of us try to play politics, and the refrigerator's empty, the bills are due, the kids are hungry, they ain't having a chance to do it, and we getting that from it. And then as soon as we get done talking about it, we go sit down and spend 3-4 hours watching some kind of distraction on TV, right? Some distraction on TV. Because again, at some point we just hadn't figured out how this stuff really works. Not saying that's everybody's situation, but for the most part, that's why people are out trying to. These things happen, they have this explosive, somewhat fake patriotic moment. This is for the country, and they go right back to letting people use them, abuse them, and do them in the kind of way literally the day after, and accept whatever the government is not going to do for you as a sign that well, at least they doing something. Like, okay, well, name me something what they're doing. Give me a policy. Give me a House resolution, right? Give me a citation. Give me something tangible where it's going to be an immediate effect on your existence. And don't give me no one-off events. I don't want a one-off event. I need a track record, a continuity, tenure of an opportunity where it's going to help people's situation from the ground level. Because again, of course, when I look at people who out there making a ton of money, they're like, yeah, when y'all gonna do another one of these pandemic things? How long, can we go back into lockdown, please? So we can make more money, right? They're thinking, how can I make more money, right? Can y'all drop some more of that virus off somewhere, right? This scenario right here, $500 billion in about 6 months. Half of $1 trillion in 6 months. Let that marinate for a moment. Who winning, who losing? I used to say that a lot, right? Way back in 2017, before that too. Who winning, who losing? Who's winning, who's losing? You losing if you trying to play reindeer games. Because money folding, money being made. And these people sleep good at night. Do you think they care? They sleeping good at night. They ain't come out their pocketbooks and purses to try to feed people and help people at the food. Look, the best they did was try to get on back with the George Floyd death and try to do something for so-called black people, right? Again, as if the problem wasn't there before George Floyd got killed. See that fake outrage? They hand got forced. See how that works? Netflix, billions of dollars. J.P. Morgan, hundreds of millions of dollars. Excuse me, millions of dollars. Now they want to do something now, as if it wasn't a problem literally months before all those things popped off. They sleep good at night, guys. They sleep good at night, right? So again, for what it's worth, we're gonna stay hungry. We're gonna stay humble. We're gonna stay building. We're gonna find a way, guys. We're gonna find a way to try to make this thing, superlative to us in a way where we're gonna capitalize on it one way or the other, right? There are gonna be policies, obviously, that Joe Biden's gonna bring that may, cause, maybe some dissension in the markets, maybe not. Ultimately, still at the end of the day, markets are always going to sell. They're going to always you know, do what they're designed to do, make money. Wall Street is a different entity or beast all into itself. It can care less about all that other stuff. It can care less about that, right? So if we're gonna follow the money, then so be it. We're gonna follow the money, right? We're gonna follow these little financial vehicles, these little financial assets, and we're gonna figure out a way to turn them into what? Liquid cash. Pretty much like we've been doing, right? Of course, we've been working, but even more so now, I think that message needs to resonate with a lot more people. It needs to resonate with a lot more people so they can see their power is not seated in the hands of, again, a politician, a politrician, right? Take advantage of your civic duty to vote and do all that in the third course. That's your right, your will. But at the end of the day, when that's all done, let's still figure out how to make you some money, right? How to change your situation. We've been beating this horse for a while. People have been, obviously, taking it taking on that opportunity to change, to make a dynamic change in their life and get excited about, want to learn. Again, that's all it takes. It costs you nothing. You just let me research, let me learn, let me extract this opportunity, because again, that puts the power back in the hands of the people, right? And that's what I get excited about. That's exactly what I get excited about, right? So we know it's going to be a scenario right now. So again, Trump out there playing golf right now. He's out over here, literally right around the corner from me, playing golf over there at Trump National Golf Course. So I can see him a little bit. Right about now, he out there like this right here, right? He out there, right? He might not be feeling so good about the situation right now, right? Because it's like this, like, man, these people didn't call this thing, and this thing ain't over. Like, how dare y'all, man? So you might miss a putt today, and then have one of these fits out there right now on the greens. Trump like, hold up, bro. Y'all mean this like the President-elect Joe Biden? No, bro. No, bro. There ain't no president-elect right now, right? He might not be feeling too good about this scenario right now, right? But that's just the reality, right? That's just the reality, right? We're gonna be, prepared for this one way or the other. Like I said before. Again, no matter who they put in office, we're gonna be ready to rock and roll. Of course, that's how you feel right about now, right? I need to speak to the poll manager. Right? I need to speak to the manager of somebody, right? Somebody I need to speak to somebody right now, right? Trump gonna be in this Karen mode for the next month at least, minimum. He gonna be in this Karen mode, right? He gonna be ready to call file on air and everything. He's gonna be ready to call the police, right? The election police. He'll be ready to call everybody to the table. Of course, he has a right, right? He has a right. In some cases, he has a right. When it comes to the ideal of how the votes and stuff have to come to the table, right? If there's, again, they just say if it's under percent or under percentage point value in a race, he can obviously do ask for recount. Doesn't make it illegal or fraudulent. It's just that they can take the process all over again and count all those ballots again, right? It's like I said, it's like when you count money and you count that money, you going through that bread and you got the big face at the top, then you flip that stack over and count it from the backside, right? Count the White House on the backside, right? That money's still gonna be what it's gonna be, right? No matter how many times you count it, right? If you add two bills stuck together at some point, okay, yeah, you may have a couple here and there, but ultimately it's still gonna be the exact amount when it's all said and done, no matter how many you count it. Is it going to be enough to overtake the scenario? Don't seem like that's the case at this point. Right. So get excited. Trump finna go in this mode right now. Right. He's gonna be in this Karen mode. Right. He's gonna be, that kind of suburban, white housewife that, sit around watching, The View all day and all the different talk shows and going in and, and fighting with people on Twitter and Facebook and, getting all in her emotion throughout the day and then, go out there in the general public after having an emotional breakdown watching media all day and go take it out on a black person, right? Or somebody that don't look like, of course, he finna go into that mindset right now. I'm just saying, y'all know the pathology. I'm not making this up. Y'all know the pathology. Don't get in your feelings. That's just the reality of things. That's just the reality thing. Can we be honest? Can we be honest? Right now, a lot of MAGA fans out there ain't feeling too good about the situation. Right? They got their hat on, getting caught to the side like T.I. on a good day. They ain't feeling too good about this situation right about now. Right? They ain't feeling too good about this situation right about now. I'm just saying, hey, look. I got to go in on both sides. Of course, I got to be fair, right? Because y'all know I go in on buying too, right? He's so obviously fake, right? But of course, America done what they feel like is good for them and their best interest. Keep in mind, I said America. I didn't say us. I said America did what they feel like was best in their best interest. Of course, what they see to be in their best interest under their mentality, possibly. Right. So again, I'm gonna just need everybody that got a MAGA hat and all the MAGA hats that were made for the election that obviously thinking that Trump's gonna win. It's kind of like when your team goes to the Super Bowl and you buy them little T-shirts, right? And that's just in case that you win. Like when your team don't win, what did they do with them T-shirts? Do y'all happen to know what they do with those T-shirts when the team don't win? They ship them to what? Other nations. They ship them to other countries. They send them to Africa. They send them to Brazil. They send them to India. You got people walking around with in India right now with a MAGA hat on. Like, hey, bro, somebody just dropped off a box of hats. What you talking about, bro? It's a hat. I don't care about what it say on it. I just need this hat. That's basically what's basically gonna happen now with all that paraphernalia. That's just how this stuff works, right? That's just how this stuff works. So let's be honest. Like we're gonna have a little fun. We're gonna be real, right? Because at the end of the day, we still our own people. We still our own adults. We still our own kings and queens. We still our own Oba and Eobas. We're the ruler of our existence. No matter who they put in power, it's all cool and all. But we're still gonna be the ones who rule our house with an iron fist. Meaning you don't suppress somebody in there, but you live life in essence where you have some peace and dominion in your own existence, and not let some political party or whatever be all in your living room, sitting up on your couch with muddy boots on, like Charlie Murphy, right? Said with Rick James, digging all in your couch, saying, forget your couch, forget your couch. That's what you do when you let these political parties in your house and they rule your life. They digging muddy boots all inside your little white couch. Forget your couch, forget your couch, right? So again, we're not moving from that perspective. So again, we're prepared. So with that being said, like always, y'all know when we get to popping and going in a little bit, we got to do take that commercial break, right? We got to take a commercial break and bring out, right? We got to bring out, our brother Trump, because right now he ain't feeling too. Again, roll that beautiful beam footage. Senor Trump not feeling too good right now. He asking where them ballots at, right? He got a right to ask for them too, and I just hope they make sure they honor every aspect of legality, so that way we can get through this thing one way or the other, right? Let the votes come through, let everything be what it's gonna be, so when it's all said and done, we can get back and get all this drama out of the way, so we can focus on find a way to kind of get this money. Right? Because right now, Biden feeling good about his little self, right? He feeling his little self, right? He probably had him a swig of his best little brandy of cognac this morning, right? He feel like he got this thing in the bag, right? He old just like Trump, so he feel like he can go out there and take on anybody right now. So of course we caught a glimpse of Biden early this morning, right? He got a call from his homeboy President Z, right, in China, right? Because they feel like him and Biden conspired to cheat Trump, right? Trump words, right? China against him, everybody against him right now. So they spotted Biden and Xi, this morning, get ready for to get this information about them winning the election. So we spotted Biden. Here it is.
World full of busy bees working. I ain't never met a free person. I don't get along with these earthlings. I'm trying to seek purpose, fight for something I believe's worth it. Feel the curse, I'ma reverse it. I don't dream cause I sleep nervous. No. Yet I keep flirting, face death like a Steve Irwin. Whole heat, I'ma drink thermos. Tell the bartender keep serving. I'm trying to be perfect, using dirty shit to clean dirt with. Only happy when the weed burning. Traded oxygen to breathe herbin. Till I see curtains, lungs fail and they cease working. Air is something that I need urgent. Suffocating, trying to squeeze words in.
So that's pretty much what we're looking like right now with Biden. He's feeling good about himself, right? So he's somewhere, maybe in Delaware, getting all, saucy a little bit here, right before it kick off, and he gonna get before the people and give his little speeches and this, that, and the third. I'm pretty sure Kamala somewhere doing the same thing, right? Of course, she just got a walk-in, vice presidency obviously handed to her. Of course, they pretty much spoke for her way back during the presidential debate. It was like they got her up out of there like early. So that said a lot about how people felt about her. Now all of a sudden they have a whiff of amnesia, as if they didn't hurry up and get her up out of the presidential debate election for the Democrats early in the game, right when everybody was in the middle of it. Now all of a sudden, she's like the best thing ever. We just knew we needed someone like her to be in such a position like this. Really? Are y'all for real? For real? They sent her packing early. Now she's like the greatest thing ever for Black women. She's the greatest thing ever for Black women. Notice I didn't say anybody else. I said Black women. Black women, majority obviously votes Democrat. They need these symbolic gestures and wins. They feel like they got them a halfway Black woman. That's good enough for them. Now, mind you, a lot of Black women was not necessarily ride with her the way they during the very beginning, during the presidential debate. They wouldn't ride with her. Again, it would have showed. They was like, no, we can't get over your policies. We can't get all this fakeness. We got you on tape saying you ain't gonna do nothing for Black people. No, I'm not gonna be the president for just Black people. No. Her words, not mine. And yet she still walk around Black people wearing Timberlands, eating hot sauce, doing these little dance moves like again the typical dog and pony show, the typical minstrel show. People forgot that. I told you people got selective outrage. People forgot that. Now all of a sudden she the best thing since sliced bread for Black women. Black women showed out in droves in the city of Atlanta and all the surrounding counties and whatever. Showed out for Kamala Harris. They were voting more for Kamala Harris than they were for Joe Biden. Truth be told. DC, in my area, in the DC area, a lot of people, again, they already talking about how Howard even put out a press release today. Like, as if they, in their mind, of course, we put out a vice president. They only care about the alumni and getting funds. But they know doggone well this woman was sitting around Howard. Just because she went to HBC does not make her historical Black college mindset woman. She just went to school there. That's like me going to Harvard and calling myself, yeah, seriously, Mark Zuckerberg. Just because I go to Harvard, I'm instantly Mark Zuckerberg, Right? I'm a Jewish white kid, this, that, and the third, just because I went to Harvard. That kind of scenario. And then I would say, well, at least, well, my ancestors was brought here and they probably raped by, a white man. So of course, that makes me what? White. Of course, that wasn't her scenario. They didn't get raped. That her mom met with a, whatever. Y'all know the history. I'm just saying, of course, people don't want to hear that. They were like, man, move on, brother African poor, man. You stepping on my toes a little bit, man. Well, guess what? I'm gonna continue to step on it because you know what? I don't care about none of them. I care about how can I build with you? Can we formulate a village that's surrounded around financial literacy so we can find a way to have some resources at our disposal so we'll never be dependent upon a Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Mitch McConnell or Donald Trump or whoever. Because that's what really matters at the end of the day. It's those who make things happen and people who are waiting for things to happen. If you're waiting, of course, you got to pick a side. You got to, in your mind, you got to fall into a fold, as they say. We like, no, there's still a thing called abstaining, right? I don't have to choose none of you, right? I don't have to choose none of you, right? Stock market, again, stock market don't care. Do the stock market care? Truly? I mean, I'm just asking. I'm asking for a friend. Do the stock market really care? Right? Okay, well, let's see. Right? Let's take a quick little look again, see what the stock market had to say about it then. Right? There you go. There you go, right there. Do the stock market care? Ask yourself that question. Right? Right? Do you think the market care? They trying to say, well, how can I get how can I get paid? How can I get paid? That's just the reality of things, guys. Come on, let's be honest. Right? That's just the reality of things. Let me show you how to read a technical chart. Let me show you what a candle is. Let me show you what these patterns are. Right? Let me show you what, how to understand the fundamentals of a company. You already know in more ways than you give yourself credit for. You buy, you consume products, you know how this stuff works in terms of profit margin in a lot of ways because how they charging you what? Inflated prices for certain products and goods, and how it's just obvious that what? They keep trying to find a way to make more money off you. Cost of living continues to go up every year. Products go up right along with them. If you're not getting a raise, that means you're already behind. Now show me how a politician is out there really trying to what? Even that playing field. Show me. Look at the market. We sitting there watching this in real time. This is Weekend Wall Street. Y'all see it happening right here before your eyes. That thing went up, pulled back, and what? Now it's skyrocketing. News travels a little late sometimes. Sometimes it travels early. People starting to hear it now. People starting to get that text message. Oh, for real? Biden what? He took it? Look what the market doing right now. Y'all see it? That means the Dow's up already 147 points as of now. It could change between now and Sunday, but as of now, it's up 148 points. This is money being made. Right? So, again, that says a lot about this situation. Somebody out there feeling some kind of way. Right? Meaning they're saying, okay, well, yeah, we finna get paid. Regardless. We're going to get paid regardless. Right? We're going to get paid regardless. Crypto pumping, forex market still making money, gold pumping, all these commodities and equities out there getting paid, right? It's pulling back now, right? I just went over and looked at Bitcoin a little bit. It's all over the place. It's volatile a little bit, but it made a big, massive run over the past what, month or so. Market's correct sometimes, right? People that again they got money, they like, yeah, man. No matter who they put in office, I'm just gonna feed off this euphoria and let the algos read the hype and euphoria around the markets. We're gonna get paid. It's like again, like watching the movie Breaking, right? Y'all remember this movie here, right? people that's waiting to get paid come Monday, this is how we looking right now, right? We around here dancing and like, yeah, I'm gonna get paid, bro. We finna get paid, boy, right? Jokers ain't ready for that, right? We gonna get paid, right? I'm in my breaking mode right now, right? Electric boogaloo and all that, right? Turbo and ozone, right? Old school, right? Some people ain't even born back then, y'all. Some of y'all wasn't even born back then. Turbo and ozone moment, right? So of course, again, that's why we're gonna be prepared. We're gonna be prepared to deal with this, right? We're gonna be prepared to get paid, right? We're gonna be prepared to get paid. Market on fire. They're gonna drop it. They're gonna drop it regardless. Doesn't mean it's gonna stay down there. They're gonna turn around and buy it right back up. Right? They're gonna turn around and buy it right back up. Right? So we, like I say, this is a moment to take it all in. Right? This is a moment to take it all in. But we're gonna be right back. Ready to rock and roll come Monday. Right? We're gonna be ready to rock and roll. Right? We're gonna be ready to, get our portion. Right? And make things happen. Right? Here's the link, guys. You guys want to come on the back panel and talk about it, right? The election, right? You want to talk about some stocks. You want to share your screen, go over some stuff. Of course, we're equal opportunity over here. We're a workshop-minded environment, right? This is no kingship over here. We're all equal. We're all peers, right? We all, financial literacy peers in this, and so we're trying to figure out a better way to make our situation work for us, all right, as a collective. So come join us, right? Come on the panel, come discuss it, right? You might have some information that's very vital, right? We love to hear from people, right? We love that over here. We love that level of participation. So come hang out with us. Right? Come hang out with us. Right? If you're in a position to come discuss it, let's discuss it. Right? Right? This is the day we get a chance to talk about these things in a way that, is monumental if it's, of that kind of, scenario anyway. So come hang out with us. Let's discuss it. There's the link. Come on to the back chat. Let's get it up, let's talk about it. Right? Let's talk about it. Right? So again, like I say, this is the day to get excited, right? This is the day to, take in, everything that's awesome that has to do with the markets. Hey, what's going on, fella? Tricky Willie? What's
Yo,
going
what up? What up? What up, man?
on? Hey, peace, power, and profit to you, fam. What's going on today?
Not much, man. Just over here watching the Bitcoin doing its thing.
Yeah, man. I was like I said, I went over and checked it out a little bit. It pulled back and then it just kind of got bought up apparently.
Yep.
Yeah. Matter of fact, let me pull a chart up real quick while we discuss it, man. So, again, I know you like the crypto space a little bit too, and you figured out how to way to get your bags too, like a lot of us have, right?
Yep. Grab and go, baby.
Yeah, yeah. So, which one you like right now? I mean, out of the crypto space, where are you more focused on? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, any altcoins in particular?
Well, right now I've been rocking with Ethereum and Litecoin.
Okay,
They're more stable. You can kind of see where they're going based off of the Bitcoin chart.
I agree with that. Right?
Hmm.
Yeah, faster speeds and things of that nature, and again, sometimes in most cases even better use cases, right?
Yep.
So yeah, very phenomenal movement that they've made again, of course, over this short period of time. We kind of seen this kind of coming to fruition too because the consolidation been really strong. You know, so
I mean,
yeah.
right now, I don't know what cryptos are you following right now? Or are you dealing with?
Well, I mean, I follow all the mainstream ones, and of course, there are some ones off the beaten path. Of course, they've been talking about this whole idea, especially since PayPal that came on board finally and adopted scenario, which always brought in a lot of volume. Of course, a lot of people that know this stuff. That really brought in a new influx of money when PayPal came online. So some of the stuff that they've been doing in secret, of course, they got a project. I'm pretty sure you know about Dot. All right, that's the one that people finna sleep on that don't know nothing about it. So I would say if you're not familiar with it, go look it up, guys. Everybody in the back chat, it's a coin. It's called Dot.
Dot coin.
Right. It's the founders of PayPal secretly got with some smart people and they orchestrated and built this coin under the radar. Same way Facebook was trying to build a Libra coin, right? And the same way the Fed trying to make this new Fed coin. Well,
Right.
PayPal was already doing that behind closed doors. And so what they did officially, they came out and said, now we're going to accept Bitcoin as a whole, right? The whole space into our sphere. But that's because we've already figured out a way to get this coin up and popping behind y'all back. So look into that one. That one there might be a banger. Where we already know
Yeah.
about Uniswap. We know the whole issue with Uniswap. Of course, you know what that's all about, right? Right. They
Yeah.
got a little moment when it came out, you know, and did this little thing, but right now it's kind of like, yeah, you in pullback mode.
Yeah. It's real strange how when new coins come up, I mean, yeah, you can make a little bit off of it if you jump into it real quick and you got large money. But after that, it's a done deal. There's a lot of different coins that just flop instant.
Facts.
Yeah.
And that's why we always say it's better to, you know, circle around the ones who have a track record, right? A somewhat to be, you know, solid track record where we can see at least a body of work. It matters, right? Because everybody got a team. Stocks do it the same way in the stock market. I tell people every day, people come on, go through all the process to get what publicly traded, right? Meet with underwriters, pay all that filing fee to get publicly listed, and guess what? They get in, get a little money from the public, and they start doing something, and then literally, sometimes what? A year later, they what? They done already. So,
I mean,
yeah,
if you don't know the pattern and you're new to it and you just no one's ever told you anything, that's how they make back the money. I mean, they already know how this goes.
facts.
Yeah. And I mean, I understand how, because when I first started, you know, I lost probably about like 1,000, probably about that. That was sometime last year. But ever since, you know, once you hit your face so hard and you get it slapped up pretty good, then you say, okay, well, which chart should I follow? And you start getting really good at which chart you should follow. And man, I done made triple of that by now.
That's it.
Just
It's growth. It's understanding that, of course, like anything, you just trying to learn the lay of the land. When that becomes apparent that you become more familiar with the territory, you can make what better decisions underneath it, right? That's like anything in life, right? It's the process, right? It's the process, right? And we have to respect that because again, we talking about the energy or value of financial literacy, right? Putting the power in the hand of what you, the end user. Right, you don't have to wait on somebody to give you opportunity. You can formulate your own piece by learning how to what read the tea leaves, as we say, follow the money.
come on.
You know, so it's revolutionary. I always say that, man. Investing in trading is revolutionary. It truly is.
Yeah.
Man, how do you think about that? What's your opinion on that?
I'm gonna tell you this right now. There is this thing called the mini app, and there's just similar things like that. But basically, when you invest also, I don't put all my money into trading based off of, you know, how Bitcoin does. But right now, investing in certain platforms where they lend your money and borrow it and stuff like that, you get interest. So sometimes you get 10%, and then it goes on up to 1% every month that you keep it. And so far that I had it for 12 months, I'm up to 20 to 35% on whatever I put inside of there. And I get it. Yeah. There's different platforms besides trading. Yeah, there's a lot of different things where you could just basically won't even have to worry if the price of the market goes up or down, because you're still going to get a dividend based off of what you've invested in. So there's a lot of different things. I'll probably shoot you the link sometime.
Yeah, no worry. You can share it. And of course, you know, we share information over here, of course, like anybody, their ability to do their own due diligence and research. But that's what makes this stuff fun, right? Because we're a data-driven society, right? It puts us in a position where it's exciting to be able to kind of go down those rabbit holes. Let's see if there's an in connect here where I can turn this into some kind of form of money, right? It increases your ability to be very astute when it comes to understanding how to read the financial literacy playing field. Right, this is increasing your business acumen to make better executive decision in and around your household. People don't understand this will follow you back in your personal life, right?
1,000% correct. I mean, you heard of the big banksters and all of that, and how you get ripped off. And let's say you put a Roth IRA and it kind of gains interest, but the interest is so low. Well, with this right here, it's kind of like the beginning of what is supposed to have been happening years ago. We should have been on this level of just about anybody should be able to make wealth from this atmosphere right here, this digital thing right here. And so we are going to see some like growth upon growth, but we got to go through these down peaks. We got to go up and down with it, you know, just like the waves. You got to be prepared for it.
And you know, the greatest thing about that though is that, you know, as I know, especially when you become initiated in the markets, right? We don't see down moments as a hindrance. We see that as a discount day. We spend our entire lives always trying to get the hookup or get a discount. But why we can't seem to take that same approach when it comes to being able to use our money in that same perspective? When these assets give you an opportunity to get it in at cheaper, we don't say, well, this is wrong, this is a scam. Okay, of course, once we do our due diligence and figure out that it's not, then that you say, okay, this stock is a growth stock. Well, this asset is a growth asset. It has potential to continuously what? Build on its adoption, build on its, you know, its utility value. You're not going to target with the idea at that point to say, now I can add more at a cheaper price. Right? It gives me a potent position now. So we stop, you know, tricking ourselves, you know, and fooling ourselves out of opportunity, right? And realize now's the time to start to realize how to put your assets to work for you, how to put your money to work for you, and not sit there and think about it. Because we don't think about it when we blow it at the club. We don't think about it when we blow it at the bar. We don't think about it when we blow it at the mall. We don't think about it when we're blowing it, you know, on
shoes
and all this stuff. It's like, man, look, I work for it, I can blow it, but then you right back Monday, I got to work twice hard to get it back. And we like, no, I just put mine over here in the, you know, this coin or this stock, and yeah, it's starting to what, you know, bang out. Right, give it about a month, it's really gonna show out. Watch it. You know, it kind of like that.
I think what discourages a lot of people in the beginning too is that when they get into the market, like let's say someone told you about it today, and you put $100 in there, and you're seeing that your money's going down. That, you know, that right there would discourage someone, not knowing that there's something that actually shows you when the market is going down. There's, you know, and even what you got on your screen is brilliant. I mean, right there and then you could just kind of sit down and kind of relax because you know where it's going, kind of, and what sort of direction you need to go, and whatever cryptocurrency you're following or whatever you're following.
You know, and it's weird too, because keep in mind, like I was showing this the other day. I don't know if you saw us last night. I did a comparative analysis. I showed Bitcoin, I showed gold, I showed equity stocks, of course the S&P, which is, you know, the bellwether for all things, you know, investment world on the equity side, right? I showed all different asset classes out there, even, you know, we talked about even Forex. And the one thing most of them all had in common when we talked about the idea when the pandemic came and hit everybody land, right? Besides a few of the little island nations that was spared, right? The Andaman Islands, good look, you know, shout out to those people, right? Some of them. Right, Amen. But what it all showed was that what we hit a reset button and everybody got hit. Bitcoin crashed, gold crashed, equity stocks crashed, right? Banks crashed, stores crashed, businesses crashed, people crashed, right?
Yeah,
it was a reset button. So everybody chart looked the same on the March lows, right? So we keep saying the March lows. That was basically the beginning of the new year, right? Because we hit a reset button. Now, if you look at Ethereum under that same mandate, Ethereum came all the way down to like about $89 a token. We're talking about 6 to 7 months ago. Look where it's at right now.
Yeah.
$440. It went up as high as like 447, right? 480, I mean. And pulled back, and now it's on another uptrend. So convince me how you getting having an opportunity to make 400% gain in 6 to 7 months is a bad investment, or a bad idea of thinking that you shouldn't think about what doing this. Or at least learning. Because you sat and waited on what? A politician? You sat and waited on the stimulus check. You sat and waited on Mr. Charles to let you back to work, right? You sat and waited on all these different things, and of course, what? Bills didn't stop. Refrigerator didn't, it's still like, hey, So for us, of course, we're not sitting there trying to convince ourselves, how to hustle harder. We're trying to hustle smarter.
Come on.
These financial vehicles, that's what they are. They're just financial vehicles, right? It's the same way when we buy Nike shoes as opposed to buying Nike stocks. Well, which one gonna take you further, the shoes or the stocks? That leather gonna wear out at some point, right? You're gonna get scuff marks on some point, right? Somebody gonna drop a soda on your shoes by mistake one day. And do you get a refund on them shoes at that point, though?
Absolutely not.
But if your money in the stock, what the stock doing?
Either flipping and flopping and going up.
See how that works?
Yeah.
So it shows you when we talk about longevity and financial literacy in a way where we say, well, maybe, just maybe, we need to understand that if we're going to be able to procure income in a way or procure wealth or whatever the case like that, maybe it's time we start looking at this thing from a different angle, right? From the broker, the executive side of the house, as opposed to the consumer, right? If we're going to play the game of, I'm playing the American game, I'm playing the politics, I'm going to play this and this and that, do those people care about your scenario truly at the end of the day when they go home?
No.
They go inside their gated communities, when they go and, and matter of fact, when they vote to not shut down the government, well, basically what they're saying is that, okay, well, we're going to use the taxpayers and what? They've been paying our salary. We're just going to make sure that the taxpayers pay our salary so we can go back to Washington the next day and filibuster and still not give them what they need. That's the game a lot of people playing, and they convinced that they're doing what? They do what? In terms of the government, the sacrifice, to be the sacrificial lamb while people are making all this money. It makes no sense to me, of course, but that's just my opinion. Of course, I'm not to say that everybody has to follow that, but I just look at things at the way that they are.
Yep.
So again, that's why I enjoy, our little community now. When we all come together and realize that this is not a, this is literally, your life.
Man, this is honestly, it's your life. If you're gonna keep wasting your money on certain things, and you don't understand that wasting could, in my opinion, right now. Well, first of all, before I do that, I'm gonna click this button right here. Just add me on the broadcast because I gotta switch this phone.
Yeah, no worries, don't worry.
Yeah. All right. So, what I've done for the past 4 years, because I have my own channel. I know you don't even know about that, but I have my own channel.
Yeah, when you get a chance, share it too. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, cut your wisdom there. Go ahead.
Tell me if it's too loud.
No, you will. Yeah, everything's well.
Nice. About 4 years ago, I had realized that I had been putting my money into like things that were not like assets. There are definite liabilities, and a liability literally is anything that is just taken away constantly. And I thought being in a big relationship and doing all this and buying that was it, but I realized that once you start to do that, you can never stop doing it. That's throwing money into the pit. And so for the past 4 years, it was a bit of a struggle, but I noticed a big change in my health, in my mentality. I mean, I can breathe better, knowing that some sort of little technology that us humans created can make us money overnight. There's no need to sell drugs or anything like that because you're making triple what these guys would make if you just simply invest. So, I mean, this thing is going to shoot off so far. And right now, I don't see anybody using these things called the Bitcoin machines in my gas station that's kind of down the street. I don't see anyone using that. That screen is always clean. But slowly and eventually, as people realize, and people like you who broadcast like this, people will slowly realize, man, there is some wealth in this, and I need to make a 180 in the direction that I was going.
You know what? You're pretty much as I say, the epitome. And a lot of people who look at us like, man, see what y'all doing. See, this is, but you can lose it, and you got all this risk and gambling, and it's this, right? You are the antithesis of their reality, right? Or their unreality aspect of how they look at life, right? Their non-reality linear aspect of how they look at life. They don't understand that basically everything you just said was set in a way where this is why there's a lack of teaching people real, true, tangible financial skills to be able to better themselves, because it puts you in the driver's seat to be dependent upon people that will put you in traps that mess your life up. When you convince a brother on the corner, like, hey, I know you doing what you feel like you need to do because they kind of locked you out, then red line you, blackball to try to always. But here's something that now puts you in the game that puts you on equal footing, even with the greats out there that you consider to be greats at this, and can't nobody block you or bar you from it. Convince me why you don't want to at least try to learn more of it, as opposed to the risk of life of trying to get a job, taking the risk of being humiliated by people who are always going to look at you from a prejudice perspective or a bigot perspective, and kind of red line you and benign neglect you from opportunity. Convince me that you feel like again trying to convince that the community not to message you and let you do your thing is more reputable than learning how to now put your money to work for you, as opposed to a product or a service that you have to handle, do all the overhead, do all the cost analysis with that. And again, it does not resonate with common sense. Once you know that these things are available, not that you can have simple ignorance and not know, but once you know, what do you do from that point on?
You do it. You execute the motion. You do it.
Totally agree. And that's the only way we're gonna
succeed and move forward.
You see how that work?
Yeah.
So it becomes very adamant that, for what we're trying to accomplish here. And of course, I'm just one of many people who have these channels and these things, but we need more of them. That's the problem. We need more of them because there's a million more other things out there. That's what distractions.
Man, you hit the nail right on the head.
That's what it is. It's a money, grab. They're trying to grab money out of you. They're not trying to put money into you. See, that's the difference.
Yep.
They run from the people trying to put money in their pockets, obviously on a legit, thorough, fundamental, highly, transparent environment. And they say, well, no, let's go over here and try to, show you all these little, turns and twists and, all this. And, you got to make sure you don't put the straw man on the paper, but, do it this way. And I'm like, look, right. Right. Some of us are a little too old, right, for all that right now. Right? It comes a time where we have to start figuring out, how to leave something behind. Right? How to sit still long enough to kind of put a formulated plan or strategy together so we can obviously accrue something and then leave something behind.
Ooh.
Hopefully it resonates with somebody a lot earlier than a lot later.
Man.
Because the stock market ain't stopping. These assets are not stopping. People that make money, that's been making money, they're not finna just all of a sudden just give up and say, I don't want to make any more money.
Come on.
Because they understand that people out there who are subjected to the idea of, again, waiting on other people to tell them how to brush their teeth, how to go to the bathroom, how to put on their shoes, how to drive to work. They already know they're going to keep feeding off you.
Man.
Like you hadn't realized yet how to now take power back in the hands of yourself and control your own destiny. Right? That's the difference.
Yep.
Right? That's the difference. So, of course, for me, it's a no-brainer. Right. Again, I say over Chris, he done popped in the building. I'm pretty sure, like anything, I already know he, again, like minds, right? So over Chris, how you feel about the conversation so far? Right. I don't know if he might be busy. He must be busy. Yeah. But this is what why we get down like this.
Profit.
Hey, what's going on, over Chris?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, peace, power, profit, over.
Yeah, how do you feel about the conversation? Especially with the election, all that stuff.
In totality, I just think people, I think they overly excited. It's kind of ridiculous, but whatever. They want Trump out. I get it, but I think that's the wrong reason to want somebody out the White House because, of his personality disorder, whatever the case is. I think people don't look at what's been done or what he has done. They just don't like him as a person or as a president. But at the same time, if we're going by data, the things that you should be looking at that people are not looking at, well, some people, they can get swayed by whatever Biden and Kamala Harris proposes. Like I said, in the next 4 years, people they're gonna complain about him and her as well. And I'm like, it's gonna be the same thing with every president. And the way I look at it, I'm like, you like to say, voting, against your own interests. We do that a lot. I don't think enough people do research about on their candidates. And in this particular case, people just wanted to get rid of Trump. That's cool, whatever. There was gonna be a president regardless. So, but I think what people miss is they miss what this does to them personally. How does it personally affect you?
Yep.
What does Biden or Trump do for you personally? I know what the stock market do for me. I know what the forex market do for me.
Yep.
I'm not really concerned about them and what the hell they do.
You
They
feel
can
me?
get up there and be a clown and shucking jive all they want to. That means nothing. It's funny. So the, as long as the stock market's here, the forex market, cryptocurrency, real estate, as long as that is here and I can access it, I don't give a damn who's the president. 'Cause I'm here for the bag. I'm not here for entertaining people's policies and what they're gonna do for my people. And I know it's a joke in the first place. See, people ain't looking at their personal economy and what they need to do in their life. They worried about somebody else that's already rich and fat getting what they need to get, while you are not. You
There it
still
is.
waiting on a check,
Shots fired.
and then that's just the reality of it. So I
Mm-hmm.
just look at this stuff as a joke, man. People, you can just see it through the timeline. Everybody just talking about it, but nobody's talking about what they need to do personally for themselves in their life. We never see that. We never see doing a reflection in the mirror, thinking about stuff that you need to be doing, but
Yeah.
you're worried about the wrong things. So
Yeah.
you're worried
And
about
getting
Trump
all
being at the White
frustrated.
House. So you got that. Now, what are you going to do for yourself going into 2021 and, ending out this year?
Yep.
What improvements are you going to make for yourself? So, uh, like I said, this whole election, it's a joke. It's entertaining. I get it. But, after all the laughs and the giggles and the ha-has, you still going to have to come back to reality. And what's the
You're damn right.
reality? You still hanging at the bottom of the rope trying to climb up, and you really working against yourself. So
Yeah.
good luck. That's all I can say, man. People, y'all got Joe Biden as the president. I hope y'all are happy. Don't start complaining when all this stuff he promised and he don't deliver. Don't start complaining saying, "Oh man, he got us with the okie doke." Well, let's look at the history.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Come on now.
Well,
but
as we
yeah,
know at
that's
the beginning, more business as usual in a lot of ways, right?
mm-hmm.
But that's
That's
it. Of
kind of
course,
my
what I'm saying,
analysis.
it's not like we are, again, telling people don't exercise your right to do this, that, and the third. If you want to believe, again, play in the civic arena, of course, that's your given scenario. But I'm just saying, of course, at this day in this day and age, which we know unequivocally now, where we watch the financial district of America show out in more ways than we have ever known, right in front of our faces, where they've told you for so much that they ain't got money for this, they ain't got money for that, we ain't got money for this, we can't do this, we got gridlock over here with that. They just showed you all that was a bunch of bull crap when this pandemic hit. Money came from everywhere all of a sudden, out of
Yep.
thin air, out of the sofa couches. Money came from everywhere,
Everywhere.
as they call it, helicopter money. And now it's been exposed that now that rabbit can't go back in the hole, right? That you cannot plug that hole now.
Nope.
So if you're going to convince people that, if he gets in office and he get to talking all that, well, see, I can't do nothing because of this, that, and the third. Well, hold up, bro. Hold up. Right? So that's why I say going forward, it's a whole new different perspective now. It's a whole new different ideology, how you need to look at government, governance, or any of that stuff, because they can't pull that wool over your eyes anymore.
Yep.
Even more a reason why you need to now start trying to figure out how to learn how to get invested in any asset class, learn about it, so that way you're never going to be subjected to what? All these charlatans that hang around Washington.
Boy.
It's just there, just this is reality, and that in itself, again, that's your president, the one that you can obtain, right, in paper form, right? That's who your president is.
Yep.
Right, my president gonna be who? Benjamin Grant and all them guys, all of them. I don't even know all them, Jefferson, all of them. That's who my president is.
You hear me?
Whoever I can bring to the table, right? I, I'm reerecting Joker, digging Jokers about the grave, just like they did on High High. Dig up a president. They go dig up a president and smoking. Right? That's what I'm doing. I'm digging these Jokers up because that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yep.
Right? And in terms of being able to kind of sustain yourself, of course, it's just a system that we're underneath, the monetary system, the currency and all that. But ultimately, again, that's what we should be trying to look into kind of what procure.
Yep.
Right? We don't want to be a part of gang for emotional reasons. We want to be a part of gang for what? Tangible reasons.
Hey, beautifully said. Yes.
So again, I'm excited, man, just to see that a lot of us are waking up. We get it, right? A lot of us are coming into the fold. We're now starting to challenge ourselves now, under this mandate, under this ideology, right? Under these different principles that we're putting forth. I mean, you guys go live, you speak about it, you tell your friends on your social medias, just this, that, and the third, your peers, your family members, and they're still looking at you kind of like, yeah, but see, eventually that's going to change, right? Because they're gonna get at some point, they're gonna be like, yeah, you just keep winning, right?
Hey, look, I got a good example of that real quick, man. My old mom, I had told her to put 200 in it when it was at 8,000, when BTC was at 8,000, right? And she didn't looked at it until when BTC finally hit to like 15.9 or whatever it hit last year. So I sent her a text. I said, okay, check your Bitcoin now. The whole time she's like, you think it's going to go up? Because it's got to go down. Man, she turned that 200 into $450.
See how that worked?
Yep.
See how that worked?
Yep.
See, sometimes being overly cynical, right, can keep you out of opportunity. Being skeptical is something different. But being cynical, of course, it could be what? Very detrimental to a person's growth. And so it's good to have healthy skepticism, right? But once you just say, again, when you get to the point where you learn how to start, again, understanding that life obviously is surrounded around risk, and if you learn how to mitigate that risk and understand the lay of the land where there's already a fabric or a rubric or a blueprint that's already been out there, right? And this ain't, dismantled at this point where you can say, well, at least I can do a little research on to get it. That helps you feel better and sleep better at night, that okay, I'm finally doing what I was obviously designed to do in terms of understanding how this capitalist society works, putting my money to work for me for a change. Eventually, over time, that skepticism kind of fades and fades and fades away. But those are people who are hard, see now, like hard cynical people. Like everything is just negative. No, I don't believe it. It's scam. Is this, is that, is this, and is that. And they get up every morning, put their little, boots on and go right on out there to be what? The stepping fetcher for Mr. Charlie.
Boy.
And they comfortable and thinking that that's the only way they could be successful in life. But everybody else is doing something outside of that plantation. You are the problem. You doing it wrong. You messed up. You this, you that, you scared. What?
Like,
so in that testimony, that shows you that, even our elder folk can learn something new. They can figure out a way when before they've been shut out from the education for a lot of this stuff, and they just was out there making things happen the best way they can, take care of their families. Now you can bring them back into the fold, right? You're supposed to stand on the shoulder of your what? Your ancestors or your elders, right?
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to turn around and bring them up to speed to where you at in terms of knowledge that you've been able to coalesce and get. That's how this is supposed to work.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's the difference. So again, shout out to you, man, for doing that. Shout out to anybody out there who's sharing the wisdom and knowledge of financial literacy to your family, your peers, giving them at least something to kind of look at and take the task in terms of they really want, see that situation obviously improve a little bit beyond the fact that we're waiting on somebody to do something for them. That in itself is really, again, that's what it's about building. When we say building a village, right? It takes a village. That's what it really entails. Right? It's not about, again, just, hanging out just to kind of hang out. No, it's about let's build something, right? Let's acquire something.
I mean,
right? Let's aggregate something.
Yes.
Right. So I'm excited to see that. You guys are, man, look at, I know the world's getting, man, look. We finna do some things. We're gonna keep doing some things too, but we finna do some things.
Boy, the future is gonna be so. I can't even describe it. The reason why is because look at the generation that was before me, my parents before me. Okay, they had shillings. All right, these things called shillings. I guess. I guess it was coins or something way back in the day.
Shekels, shillings, and of course, resources. Of course, that was money, currency back then beyond gold. And so, yeah, I'm with you.
And what's so crazy is that just within a generation, I mean, look at where we at. We got this paper money that we can convert to whatever, digital, whatever. I mean, all you can do is say what the heck's going to be next, and let's hope that it's going to be something positive.
I agree.
Because it's going to be something next. You see what I'm saying?
1,000%. Right.
Yeah.
That's how the evolution of money in itself is obviously showing you right before your very eyes that people are tired of this same old, same old, same old reality. Right. Fiat currency now is on this it's at a point now where it's getting ready to kind of make a victory lap, and then after that, it's going to be challenged from this point on. People figure out that they're starting to put the money or the power of their money back in their own hands. Look at Trump. You see right there, Trump leaving Trump National. Right, that's over in my little neighborhood. He's leaving the golf course, not getting ready to go back to Washington, right? Or inner city, that is, right? So yeah, that drive of shame. That drive of shame.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long little short trip back into 1600 Pennsylvania. But of course, again, we're having fun, make it lighter a little bit here. But of course, like I say, what we're talking about is much more important, right? Because, we have ability to change people's financial situation. They, on the other hand, have the ability to change people's emotional situation. And that's that's what they focus on, the emotion. Yeah, man. So again, shout out to all the doers out there. So of course, I think it's time to play the national anthem, right? We haven't played the national anthem today. So again, Trump, of course, on the way back to the White House, of course. So I think it's time for us to kind of cue the national anthem up, right? Because obviously, because he called people that was protesting the national anthem, right? He called them bastards and all kind of other words and B's and some SOBs and all that. So of course, that same national anthem now, again, is up for question in a lot of ways too, because again, we understand how it has also left a void of historical precedents, with a lot of people not knowing who they are and what this country is all about. And so, since they use it as a tool to weaponize people to get them, all divisive, we're gonna use it to make a mockery out of it. So let me roll some of that beautiful being footage real quick. So I think it would only be fitting that we just make sure we send our brother, Senor Trump out the right way, right? We had to play the new national anthem, right? Just cut up a little bit, right? Make sure we pay homage to him. But again, on a serious note, of course, we understand our situation, and so for a lot of people again who are of the African descent, or people who came through this scenario like anybody in terms of this country, and dealt with what we've been dealing with thus far, we understand our situation. So that's why I say, so what are you going to get from this, right? We know that they've been, again, very good at mastering the ideal of saying they're going to do something but never been doing something tangibly, right? Our history hasn't changed. It has only been more magnified of late because information technology, right? We're in the information age. People now starting to realize that we've been duped, we've been had, we've been used, we've been robbed, we've been raped, we've been mutilated, we've been maimed, we've been castrated. I mean, we've been, again, you name it. We've been through it. And so what are you going to get from all of that was promised to you? How are you going to position yourself to seek those things, that retribution, so to speak? The history is there. So you put these people in office, and as if they forget, as if, or act like those things didn't never happen. You know what I'm saying? Again, matter of fact, bars. Let's go to the bars real quick. One second. Let's go to the bars.
For 400 years, you had your knees on our necks. A garden of evil with no seeds of respect. In America's mirror, all she sees is regret. Instead of letting blood live, they begging for bloodlet. Revenge is a dish that's served on platelets. Transfusion of confusion, abusing our intellect. I can't be bought with a $1,200 check, even though $1,200 can make a meal stretch. My mama wasn't rich, but she earned my respect. She made a little bit of money for a lot of blood, tears, and sweat. Jumping up and down on police cars, I'm vexed. After Chauvin killed George Floyd, we got next. Molotov cocktails, anarchy on the set. The rich took the loot, so now we loot shit. Feeling like a caged tiger that's whipped to do tricks. That's why I started fires and yelled and threw bricks. They tried to run me over and arrest me and shit. Tase pepper spray and engage with the kid. They ran up in the state house with them AKs quick. But let a nigga try and do that white boy shit. Won't be no rubber bullets ricocheting off ribs. But the white supremacists go in the cops' faces spit. Try to barbecue? Becky call the cops on the kid. Hoping and praying it'd be some Emmett Till shit. Sandra wasn't bland, they hated Mike cause he brown. Trayvon should have had an Aston Martin riding around. Amadou Diallo, it's way too many to follow. Vato, how much of my pride I gotta swallow? God only knows how deep this plan goes. I was dealing with this shit as a teen in Kangos. Harassed by cops, word to my ancestors' souls. And watching that man die slow left a hole. He cried for his mama as the murder unfold. If it wasn't for them phones, Chauvin would be at home. Feeling justified because of George's skin tone. I'm telling it to those with melanin, you're not alone. The new Malcolm, Martin, and Marcuses are now grown. America's a graveyard full of black men's bones. And I ain't got to tell you that Breonna Taylor got slayed in her own home. Had they lived, Sean could have rocked bells. Eric could have garnered attention. Beyond the t-shirts and obituary mentions. Oscar could have been counting grants. Tamir could have went to Rice. They owed them cops nothing, but all of them paid the price. So yeah, you right. We should protect our Second Amendment rights. Cause in a second, a dirty cop can kick the door in at night. A 2-4-2 finna life for life. We refuse to live in hell while you living in paradise. Being black in America's like rolling a pair of dice. But the stakes are way higher, you gambling with my life.
That pretty much sums it up right there.
Mm-hmm.
More reason why you need to become more independent, financially literate, and also figure out a way to make your own way. If that rubs you the wrong way, then you are part of the problem. Because our historical journey here has been nothing set of anything less than what undermined and blocked and everything else under the sun. So if you're going to convince me, a politician is going to, again, provide you the retribution that's owed to you. After they've been knowing all these years that it's owed, and they still have yet to drag their feet. Yet you're convinced that voting alone is the only way to get things done when you know that they would not do what they know they need to do purposely. They blocking it for a reason. Then that says a lot about how you look at life and how you necessarily don't understand how this stuff works. More reason why you need to understand how to become more financially literate. For that reason, to put the power back in your hands. At least enough to where you can make the type of moves that doesn't require you again to be waiting on somebody else. Right? That's just the reality of things. That's just the reality of things. We cannot escape that.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So circle your wagons. Find other people who understand this. Of course, like I say, the market don't care about race, color, creed, sex, gender, orientation, midget, humpback, this, that, and the third. It don't care. Money don't care about how you feel about it. It does not care about your emotion. It doesn't care about your political affiliation. It doesn't care about your frat, sorority, any of that stuff. It does not care. It's a tool. It's a resource. It's currency. It's energy. It's saying use me or lose me. Use me or lose me. Simple as that. If you can find a way, a valid ideology to figure out how to pay yourself your own reparation or restitution or whatever, and then guess what? Then you best be learning how to do it. Because there ain't no, no pride in being, sitting there trying to go to work for somebody else, literally for your entire life, and act like that's some kind of form of what? Restitution, because you have the ability to get a job. Right? So again, let's use what we got. Let's keep building. Let's keep grinding. Right? Let's stay. Again, as I like to say, let's stay honest. Right? Let's stay honest.
Yeah.
Right? Let's not fool ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not play these reindeer games. As I like to say, let's be honest with the reality of things, and let's go out there and make our own way. Because again, this country is going through a major shift, one way or the other. People know it. That's why people ramp it up now. That's why they getting activated and turning up. They know that it's a big shift starting to happen.
Yeah.
Right, on all lines. Again, y'all see it like I see it. We ain't got to say and placate the truth. And that's what we're not going to do over here is placate the truth, right?
Damn right.
You know, so that just becomes a thing where, of course, while we are always pushing, the agenda of putting the power back in the hands of the people. Knowledge is power. Power equals profit, right? Knowledge is power. Power brings you profit. It's simple as that. Knowledge equals power. Power brings you profit. Learn how to use that simple scenario and get what is deserved and owed to you.
Yep.
Right, one way or the other.
Yep.
Right. So again, I'm excited to see that brothers and sisters out here getting it in. So again, shout out to you, obviously, Family Tricky Willis. Shout out to my Oprah Chris. Shout out to everybody in the back chat, because you guys are starting to realize that more and more. Right. It may not, you might be still learning, but the more you stay at this, you only get better with time. This is an acquired curation process. It doesn't require certifications, education, and college. No, this is just saying, just learn the ropes. Learn how to follow the money. The data's there. Just learn how to extract it, break it down, and the rest will be history.
That's it.
So again, I'm excited, man, to see it going down. So, man, again, peace, power, profit to the family. Again, there's the link, guys. If y'all want to come onto the back panel and keep the discussion popping, let's get it, right? I'm about to take a small momentary little pause with the call and run up this to get my little lunch. The floor is yours, brother Tricky. The floor is yours, brother Chris. If y'all want to go in a little bit, if you want to share your screen, go over anything, charts, information, the news with the election. Of course, that's what this is about today. Of course, we having that, unofficial but official conversation about all these things. It's still surrounded around our craft, though, which is financial literacy at the end of the day, because, again, no matter who they send to Washington, right, we still going to get paid, right? We still going to get paid, right? Bitcoin still going to be moving. Ethereum still going to be moving. Forex, USD, JPY still going to be moving. Right? Gold still going to be moving. Stock still going to be moving. Up or down, doesn't matter. We still going to make money on it one way or the other, right? Money still going to be made one way or the other. That's the whole point, right? And so long as we stay close to it, that means we always have ability to take from it.
That's right.
So I'm excited for that. So again, so I'm gonna run upstairs real quick here out of my office and grab my little lunch real fast. I'm gonna put my mic on mute, guys. If y'all want to share your screen, let me know. I'll take this off, right? And click on your screen so you can share if you want to, if you have anything on that level. If not, I'll just leave it playing in the background. You guys can just go in, right? Do what the family do, breaking down this, information and letting people understand how this stuff really works.
Yeah, I'm taking a break too, man. I'm gonna just grab this and hang in tight, and then probably a couple of hours, and then I'm gonna do my thing later on. So I hang in tight with you, discuss something a little bit, and then do my thing a little bit later.
Awesome. Keep in mind, like I said, I heard you say you got a channel too. If you want to, man, go ahead and drop that in the back chat too, man. We'll put it on. If people want to, being able to kind of keep up with you there. Which I think is obviously prosperous if they are understood. Again, you're obviously, you can tell you're straight down the middle type of brother. You understand this, you get it. Of course, that's why I say we need to keep building this village out. We need to make sure we expand. Again, brother Chris, he has a YouTube channel. He's building that out as well. We need to support each other. We need to subscribe to each other. We need to understand that, again, there's always, money being made, multiple income streams out there that we need to be tapping into and utilizing our circles to be able to do that. Right, YouTube is also a money generating tool. Right, people need to realize that. Right, people sit around and make a lot of money on YouTube using this, that, third. Why have we explored that opportunity? Right, I was supposed to play Hard Adventures. She has a YouTube channel. She just got over 1,000 subscribers. Right, her content is amazing. She should have nothing less than 100,000 subscribers. Right, people out there getting in. So it's time for us to start utilizing those aspects. Right, I just was able to recently monetize my little channel. Right, and so. Of course, it's starting to make a couple of dollars, right? So, man, look here, enemy. I would tell people, man, look, it's an enemy necessary. like Malcolm be saying, enemy necessary. All right, I'm going on with my third month at this point of monetization, and the first check came in about $490. I'm gonna put that right in the market.
That's right, baby. That's right.
The next one coming gonna be about $470. This one here already off this month. I'm already up $83 right now for this month of November, and it's just a 7th.
Yep.
So if I can keep it up, if I can make it like about $400 or 400 plus every month, and just YouTube, hey, look here, it's going straight to the market, straight to the market, right? Straight to the market. You know what I'm saying? So roughly that's about what $7 to $8, or excuse me, about $10 to $12 every day, somewhere around there, give or take.
Yeah, that is, yep.
Right, on 30 days, that's a minimum about $300 and change, right? Give or take, minimum 300. I'm just looking to invest it. I'm looking to put it to work. Right. So again, that's not to be mistaken too. That we need to be circling our wagons on here too and supporting each other. Stop all that trying to politicize a like and a subscribe. Like, are you serious? Right? Me thinking like, man, I don't know if I can give you a like, man. I don't know if I'm gonna like your channel or subscribe to you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna not subscribe and not like it. But I'm gonna watch it though. Okay, you still gave me a view then. Thanks though. Right? And not only the fact that you still bring actionable intel information they can work with and build with, but they still, how people are. Again, they on that cynical status. Still. They hadn't woke up yet. They hadn't grown up somewhat, right? And
that's
weird,
true
but
too.
You know how it go. It's weird. Like in 2020, people still playing that game, but whatever, right? It's like whatever.
Right? Yeah, man. A lot of people sometimes they be on the road. I remember I was driving and shit, and I remember everybody got their own different situations, but your channel's gonna blow up regardless. Because I felt the need to I gotta click in, and you already got it set up where you can talk. So perfect, that's intelligence. So it's only gonna keep building and building and building. You use Twitter and Facebook, man. You got it, man. You about to be making 1,000 a month off of that.
Now, I mean, I endeavor all of us to do it. And that's one thing about it, because again, we got actionable intel information. We're not talking about silliness. We're talking about, hey, family, right? Let's show you how to go from A to B. At the end of B is a bag.
Come on with it.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
But I get it. Of course, I'm not sitting there acting like I don't know it, but there's more the reason why I like to meet, obviously brothers like yourself and all the sisters out there that's getting into this as well, that understand this stuff, because I know what it's doing for people, literally their lives, right? Yeah. And it's like when this light bulb, once you hit this light switch and the light bulb goes off, man, rarely do people cut this one off. Right? Yeah. Rarely. You know what I'm saying? They'll get tired of somebody, talk about a whole lot of stuff on another channel, like, yeah, okay, that little moment they had this little moment, right? I'm tired of that. I'm gonna move on. But when it comes to you find out how to make money, you like, man, look, okay. Right? Okay. Right? I can roll with it because I got a tangible benefit from this, a tangible benefit.
And you can put your little 2 cents in and then kind of verify if it's right and stuff. It's good, man. You're doing a good thing.
So I'm just humbled and appreciative again at all costs. And again, I endeavor everybody to do the same thing. Again, you got people out there again that's making $700,000, $800,000 a month on YouTube in revenue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man. And what a lot of stuff that they talk about, it may have substance, but they built the following core, but a lot of it ain't even really putting any kind of power, tangible power back in the hands of the people. It just a lot of kind of, I'm come to you as a newscaster, so to speak. And again, there's no slight or no shade. It's just that's a difference where people, when it comes to them being in a position where they can get something from something of substance, of course, that's why it's always going to be less views for that. Right? Because people like they got to work action. They got to actually use their brain for a change. A lot of people don't want to do that. They just want to be entertained. That's just the reality of things, right? They're like, man, but I got to go to work if I come over there and watch those stuff. I got to sit through all these charts and all this fundamental analysis and all this. But okay, but at the end of it is a bag.
Come on.
At the end of it is a bag.
Come on.
Apple and NVIDIA and AMD and Google and Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat stock. There's a bag at the end of it if you learn how to understand the movement, how this stuff works. But it's intimidating to a lot of people. But ultimately, again, that's why we are very humble for that reason, because we understand. Some people need to be fed like like a baby, right? And spoon feed them. Hey, I get it. I understand what you're going through because I was there at some point, somewhat. But I get it. I'm here to help regardless. And it's no more, no less. Because I don't own the stock market, I can't sell you anything. I don't own the forex market. I don't own the crypto market. So I'm not trying to. I don't have an implicit bias. I just have a value where I can say, well, I was able to pull something from it. Here's my results. Here's my invoices. Here's my receipts. Here's me showing you what I did, right? And so if you want to duplicate that, here's what the steps you got to do to do that. Yeah, it really is that simple. It really is. But again, I know it's like pulling teeth when it comes to a lot of people. Like, man, look, I got to research that. Right? Like the health scenario, right? Somebody try to offer you something healthy, right? Straight from Mother Nature, no cut on it. I got to research that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You drive straight to McDonald's and Taco Bell. Don't even ask what's in it, or how they made it, where it came from, and just eat it like it's just what, like it's the best thing.
Ever.
Right?
Yeah.
Hate nature, right? But love, the pseudo food, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. They want instant. They want instant results, but a little time to spend into it. I got what you mean.
Yeah, So again, a lot of us over here, we understand. So I enjoy our crew, right? We be getting at it, right? We be
Yeah.
getting at
Yeah.
it. That's it. So yeah, so let me run upstairs, grab my little lunch real quick, guys. If y'all want, I'll just take a little intermission break, and I'll cut
Yeah.
the news, and we'll just listen to the news real quick, while they going in, before I come back here.
Yeah.
Unless you guys just want to open up y'all mic too, but if not, I'll just put the news on. 'Cause again, of course, they going in. Biden got this little moment here, and everybody all ramped up, and cities around the entire country and the world. People trying to come outside now and aggregate. So it's gonna be wild. They're gonna be partying tonight. Boy,
Yeah.
partying tonight, boy. All kind of drugs and everything. They're gonna be getting that, right?
Back in the 80s, like it's back in the 80s again.
Yeah, Wall Street gonna be like,
Right
well, I
up.
gotta make some money off of it. That's all Wall Street thinking right now. How can we make some money off this?
Boy,
Hey,
now man, you in the mind of them, boy. They know, what you're talking about, man.
yeah, they figured out how we gonna make some money off this here, boy. This gonna be popping.
Dude, sell them everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me do that real quick. I just put back on the news reel, and we let that run real quick. Where I run upstairs and get my little food, whatever. We'll take like a small little, intermission
Yeah.
break here, and then we'll come back and build out a little bit, before we kind of, go on by the way. But then, thank you for coming on too, brother Chicken Willie, man. We appreciate your story, your testimony, and your energy today. Is like, man, look, man, I love it. I love it.
That's
Right?
what it is, man.
Anytime course, and again, and wherever you go, of course, you got channels out there. Of course, we're gonna make sure we support you too in that regard. Anybody doing the work of this, we get it. We want to support that because it's important, right? You need to circle around people again who trying to put some power in your hand and stop all this, trying to hang out with all that, that drama stuff out there. People just sitting around drama all day long, and everybody get done going through all that fighting, and then everybody go right back to their respective place. Ain't got no money, no extra nothing. No, they ain't got nothing. They went back right
Look
back
at
to what
that.
they had, like nothing. Oh, come on, man, we got to do better than that.
Shoot, and doing it over and over and over again. Dang, it's like you gotta learn your lesson eventually.
Yeah, so at some point the light bulb has to go off, as we like to say. So yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna cut this on, guys, and I'll be right back. Give me a little minute, guys. I'll be right back. Let's see what's going on around the country right now. I guess we'll see how they feeling right now.
It's not going to be easy, and he's going to have to strike this balance. But he does have in the same way Barack Obama was able to strike that balance when he came in, because he had a crisis immediately, and it was sort of like, look, you may have your issue that you really want. Come on, you've got to appoint this person, the deputy undersecretary of X. You're like, we don't have time for that right now. This time it's a pandemic. We don't have time for the little fights, and I think that also will benefit Joe Biden's ability to get the first cabinet that he wants, put it that way.
We're showing you images that are coming into our newsroom from around the country, from Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C., and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Those are some Trump supporters, and we'll continue to monitor those images. Let's go to Kristen Walker. She's at Biden headquarters getting reaction. We mentioned, Kristen, already that Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, has reached out to Joe Biden, the president-elect. What else are you hearing?
Let me read you what we're hearing from Justin Trudeau, and then let's talk about the broader context of how the world is reacting, Savannah. Justin Trudeau writes, congratulations, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Our two countries are close friends, partners, and allies. We share a relationship that's unique on the world stage. I'm really looking forward to working together and building on that with both of you. Look, President Trump was someone who ran on an America First foreign policy, and that is how he governed. And so some of America's traditional relationships with its foreign allies have been strained throughout the Trump administration, something that he would acknowledge and felt quite proud of. Frankly, he pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. He pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. These are things that Joe Biden has said he wants to rejoin. He said he wants to negotiate a better Iran nuclear deal. But just to give you a sense, and think about NATO. President Trump had a number of NATO summits which were quite tense at times. You recall that one moment where you had several world leaders who were talking about the president behind his back, mocking him. That was caught on camera. And that was something that, from the perspective of President Trump, he saw as a badge of honor. He would argue, look, he forced those NATO member countries to meet their commitments when it comes to foreign defense spending. But on the other hand, his critics would argue that some of America's most traditional relationships have been strained and that has been a challenge for America's strength on the world stage. And at the same time, embracing some of America's foes or those with whom America has had strained relationships with, like Vladimir Putin, like Kim Jong-un. Now, Biden has said, if you want to take North Korea as an example, that he would not meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. President Trump has met with Kim Jong-un 3 times and still no nuclear deal, still no agreement for nuclear disarmament on the part of North Korea. So I think you are going to see a very different relationship with America on the world stage than we have seen in the past 4 years. It will be up to the historians to determine how that plays out. But Joe Biden has been very clear. He sees this very differently. He sees America's place on the world stage very differently. He does not subscribe to the America First foreign policy. I also want to make one more note, which is that Joe Biden has changed his Twitter handle. It now says President-elect, guys.
All right, Kristen, thank you. Let's go to Hallie Jackson now at the White House. Are you hearing any reaction from those in the president's inner circle, Hallie?
We are this morning, this afternoon, Lester. And a couple of things here. It has largely, I will tell you, been radio silence at this point. I think that I get the sense people are reeling from what I think folks knew was coming, but it is still the reality that they are now facing, save for 2 things, right? One, that inflammatory and misleading statement put out by the president this morning. The other, a press conference happening right now as we speak, actually up in Philadelphia, up in Pennsylvania, where the president's advisors are making baseless claims of fraud and continue to do so, with, interestingly, Rudy Giuliani confirming now what we have been reporting for the past 24 hours, that the president is not going to concede with this legal fight now ongoing. I have to tell you, though, there are others who get where we are right now, who understand where the Trump White House is. One person close to the White House called this the great anticlimactic ending that folks have been seeing for several days. The focus now is really shifting to people thinking about themselves, their own futures, with a White House official telling us that a lot of people are coming to terms with this. They're starting to think through the transition, where they're going to go starting in January. And a senior campaign aide lets our team know, too, that there is still some work to do. As we've been talking about, and as you've been talking about there on set, the question is, how does this transition look for President Trump? He is likely, based on my experience in the last 5 years covering him from Inauguration Day in 2017, he's likely to fume. He is likely to continue to push conspiracy theories about the election results. It may be a turbulent couple of months here. I will tell you too, Lester, right when the race was called by NBC News and other outlets, you couldn't hear what was happening on Black Lives Matter Plaza on the park just outside of the White House where I am. You can sure hear it now. We have been hearing more honking, more air horns, more cheering. It is a loud situation. The president, this is the scene. You can see actually it's filled up. And just to give you some perspective, on the top of your screen, you can see there's a fence and then a grassy area. That's Lafayette Park, which is just to the north of where I'm standing at the White House. It has been barricaded. The gates and the fencing have been put up, non-scalable, officials say, because of the expectation that this would exactly be the scene on election night. We had to wait 5 days for that, right? Took a while to get here. But this is why the reinforcements have been put in place around the White House, because of the expectation of potentially protests or demonstrations like the sort of celebration that we are seeing right now. At some point, the president's going to come back to the White House, Lester. He's at the golf course now. That's just across the Potomac River in Virginia. He didn't take the helicopter. He doesn't do that since it's such a close trip. He drives through the streets in his motorcade, and he will have to motorcade back through the streets of Washington with this scene visible to him. This is not a president who often gets glimpses of life outside the bubble, so to speak. He confronted that a couple of times recently. I'm thinking most notably over at the Supreme Court after the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when people booed he and the First Lady when the two of them showed up after Justice Ginsburg was laid to rest in her there at the Supreme Court. But it is going to be, I think, a real potentially jarring moment for President Trump to see how the country is reacting to his loss as he continues to strike, frankly, this very defiant tone.
All right, Hallie, thanks. I just want to show you a picture that we're just getting in of Kamala Harris and her husband, Doug Emhoff. This is obviously reacting to the news, so picture we wanted to share.
Glad to see
the first Jewish
second
presidential spouse.
second gentleman.
Okay, that's right. First second gentleman. Say that real fast. First second gentleman. I was glad to see so many Washingtonians out there are in the masks.
Wearing masks.
And peaceful.
And,
I mean,
but
I was just going to say,
by the way, we saw
be a gracious winner, be good winners.
And by the way, we saw the crowds in Harrisburg, that Trump supporters also peaceful. So that is what we all hope for.
Yeah, but to protest is as American as you can get. To hate each other is not.
Look,
and I think that's what we need to remember as these days unfold.
It is interesting. We polled this to see how would the supporters of either side handle losing. And what was interesting is that it was the Democratic side that their side lost. The first emotion they told our pollsters was anger. On the Trump side of things, believe it or not, his base, the first emotion they said they would feel if Trump lost was disappointment. And the point is this: you do get that sometimes, which is you're more angry at something that you couldn't attain. You may be more disappointed at something you've had and then lost. So there is, I am very hopeful and optimistic that for the most part there is going to be détente.
Let's talk to Casey about what's happening on Capitol Hill and in particular what Republicans are saying either behind the scenes or what you're getting from your sources about this moment, this time before the president is willing to concede, but after the race has definitively been called for Joe Biden.
This is going to be, I think, a tenuous and potentially a difficult period, depending on how the president handles it for a lot of Republicans. We have not heard very much yet. I've been sitting here scanning through email looking for statements coming in from Republicans or tweets. We have not yet heard very much. We had a call from Justin Trudeau. I'm looking to see if we're going to get news of a Biden call with Mitch McConnell. So far, nothing along those lines. So I do think that they are going to face a reckoning with this president, and how they respond to what he does in this period is going to be pretty critical. We're also,
Casey, I'll give you a John Cornyn response.
Republican senator from
Texas. Georgia Senate
Yes,
races?
the first thing what was submitted by any Republican senator right after the call, John Cornyn on Georgia, Democratic majority in the Senate would cinch the radical agenda of the left. They must be stopped on January 5th in Georgia. The point is that is the way that some elected Republicans will be able to sort of straddle the Trump base, who may have some anger about them, and working with a Biden administration and accepting the fact that that is what's coming. They concentrate their efforts on the political fight.
Sort of move past
exactly, and this is sort of President Trump's problem here. If he wants the party to rally around him to contest this, the rest of the party is going to move on to say, no. We want to make sure we have divided government over here.
And for those folks who may not have been following every single twist and turn, the presidency has been decided. Obviously, Joe Biden is the president-elect. In the Senate, we still don't know who will control the Senate. Will it be Republicans or will it be Democrats? And it may well hinge on a couple of very tight Senate races in Georgia that are headed to runoffs.
Yep.
And that is why we're talking about this period not only being a lame duck period for the president and a period of transition for Joe Biden, it is also an extended election campaign with no less than the control of the United States Senate at issue down in Georgia.
Right. And, we shorthand it as control of the Senate, but here's what it really means. It's the difference between Joe Biden having a mandate for calm and normalcy, which it's very clear he already has, and perhaps return to the status quo, and him being able to implement sweeping big policy changes. And also, it's going to have a huge impact on how he is able to govern, whether the cabinet that he can get is the one that he wants. Because if Mitch McConnell is still controlling the Senate, remember, they have gotten rid of, in recent years, the filibuster. Now, what does that mean? It means they only need 51 votes for this. And so Republicans would be able to block, with their majority, Joe Biden's cabinet nominees, any future Supreme Court nominees. So what Democrats are looking for here is they're looking to see, is Mitch McConnell going to blockade all of that? Because Joe Biden's first 2 years as president look very, very different if Republicans control the Senate than they do if Democrats are going to be able to pull out these two races in Georgia. So we are all going to be focused on that for the next couple of months. And Republicans, you can already see them, Chuck, to your point, they're saying, if this is a radical administration, we got to put a check on this radical left. That also, I think, is going to be something that the Biden team is thinking about. They're not going to want to give any indications. They're going to want to protect themselves from that accusation in the next 2 months.
And let me just say, as Casey, you know so well, Joe Biden lived through that first couple of years as vice president with Mitch McConnell. On day one, there's an anecdote very widely reported, which is accurate, of that meeting that they had in the Capitol Grill and the dedication, determination to block everything that the Obama-Biden team did from day one, and they were successful. And we saw it most recently, played out, of course, in Supreme Court confirmations, but it was from day one, everything was a struggle.
Control of the Senate. Does. I will also say,
look at that shit.
On the line here, if he does, he is going to need to hang on to it.
BTC dropped to 14,800, boy. That's a 342% gain, boy.
Collins immediately be three people who want to work with the administration and get working with them.
Look at that.
Well, presidential historian, author, and NBC News contributor John Meacham, who joins us now.
342% gain. Watch that thing flip, boy.
But this
gains, boy. Gains. Gains off that thing, boy. I was like, all right, BTC may drop a little bit later. Oh, man, that thing just flopped.
60 in 1864, Lincoln was elected and reelected. 32, when the tone this from the dour, jaunty and confident Franklin Roosevelt.
Hey, man.
Not unlike 1960.
I'm going to sell this Ethereum right now.
Brought in a new generation with, by the way, a much smaller majority than a president
Sell it again.
will now have.
Sell it again.
Destiny. And it's
Sell it again. Make that profit, boy.
In many ways, the president's function between of our
0.6 BTC, boy, do the math.
And what I think a lot of us are hoping to say is that Biden's victory is a miracle of at least a 51% win for what Lincoln called our better angels versus our worst instincts. And that's what history is. It's a push and a pull. And I think that in many ways, for a lot of the reasons that you all are talking about, Joe Biden may be the perfect man for this moment, because I've got Springer Spaniels who are more radical than Joe Biden. That's just not who he is. And so it's not going to be this socialist swerve. And I know we're going to be divided. I know the partisanship is going to be sulfurous, but it can't be as sulfurous as it has been. And I believe ultimately, Benjamin Franklin left the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Well, important woman said, well, Mr. Franklin, Dr. Franklin, what have you given us, a monarchy or a republic? And he said, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. And I think we kept it with this election.
I'm just thinking about Twitter. We've had for 4 years a president that communicates primarily through Twitter. How will it be with Joe Biden?
Not that way.
I will just say normal.
He won't fire his Secretary of State or Defense on Twitter. Let me ask you, John, because you not only are a historian, but I know you're a man of deep faith. This is a moment where a nation needs healing. And how do you think Joe Biden sets about that most important work?
So important. The Bible says to everything there's a season, a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to tear down, a time to build, and a time to heal. And healing is not something that just comes out of the blue, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm going to heal. And I think this is why Biden's character is particularly apropos here and fitting, because healing begins with a recognition of the other person's position, of why the wounds are here. What is it that's been off in our national life, in our place in the global world, in our hopes for the future and our fears and anxieties about it? And Biden gets that, right? This is not a blue state president. I know it feels that way sometimes, but this is a guy from Scranton. Labor unions, it means a lot to him that the folks he grew up with still get him, and he wants to get them. And so I think if we can get to more of a conversation than a constant machinery of conflict, I think that's where some healing can begin.
John Meacham.
That work begins today.
Thank you. Again, NBC News projects that Joe Biden is now president-elect of the United States. Kamala Harris is vice president-elect as they pass the 270 electoral vote threshold.
This has been a moment of democracy in action. More people have voted this year than in a generation, even during a pandemic, even at a moment of great division in this country. Democracy is still with us, and we are watching its fruits as we speak. We will come back on the air as events warrant. For now, for everyone here at NBC News, thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing this moment with us, and we will see you soon.
Remember that deep breath moment I spoke of on election eve? Maybe you could begin to let it out. No, this isn't over yet, but the votes are being counted. Not as fast as we want, but democracy is working. And we're proving once again that it is our voices that count.
White sandy beaches, crystal blue water. How incredible is that? We only get one shot at making the first impression. We're here to work, or you will be gone. High maintenance charter guest.
This crew needs to step it up.
New crew. Perfect storm. This is not open. Get back to this boat now. Suck it up, trim off.
Set your DVR to watch new episodes of Bravo's Below Deck every Monday after 9.
You're watching NBC News Now. We've got some breaking news.
Are people there concerned about what impact this could have on the election?
It's news made for your streaming world.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
I didn't know, was my child dead? My child passed out?
I just kept saying, please be okay, please be okay. You rush your child to the hospital.
A woman came in, normal clothes. We get down the hallway. She closes the door. They were accusing me of child abuse.
And that's when the real nightmare begins. Hey, calm down.
No, it's my children. I can't calm down.
Do No Harm, a new podcast series from NBC News and Wondery. First 2 episodes available Tuesday. Subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts.
I wore my snowshoes.
Hashtag blessed on that one. I'm a purebred Mormon.
I'm Pentecostal. It is a very big deal that I'm no longer Mormon. I was raised Mormon, but I'm converting to Islam.
Assalamu alaikum, bitches. Perfection is attainable. She's a bitch. Go away. Amen.
The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City premieres Wednesday at 10, only on Bravo. Set your DVR.
Today, Lester Holt and Savannah got for you in New York, the moment the entire country has been waiting for after a very close race. NBC News now projects that Joe Biden has won the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, and its 20 electoral votes.
And that means we can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden has been elected President of the United States. He is President-elect Joseph Robinette Biden at 77 years old. Chuck, we'll turn to you. This map is a real interesting one, not necessarily the path that anyone thought would have unfolded, but here we are.
Here we are. Look, we got just enough vote in order to call Pennsylvania, even if it may slip into a recount. We think there's just mathematically nearly impossible for the order of finish to change in Pennsylvania. And when you look at it in many ways, Joe Biden won with a somewhat traditional map. In the Midwest, he rebuilt the blue wall, and narrowly, but he did it. He added 2 sort of expansion states that looks like potentially, when all's said and done, with Arizona and Georgia. But the fact is, he did it without it. And it proved that 4 years ago, the biggest important lesson from this election is that 2016 was not an outlier. This is essentially the 2016 election with the Gary Johnson vote going to Joe Biden. And here we are.
All right, Andrea. I'm thinking of the 32-year quest for the presidency of this man, his resilience in the face of failed attempts in the past, a very slow start, stumbling out of the gate, losing the primaries and caucuses, reclaiming it on Super Tuesday, and taking a centrist message, which will now challenge him. His ability to reach across the aisle will be challenged on the left within the Democratic Party, but the empathy, the fact that he was so policy-directed, which comes from his whole career during COVID, which I think was the biggest story of this closing part of the campaign, his response to the pandemic and to the racial inequality, the protests after George Floyd, really spelled that appeal to suburban women and others in broadening that appeal that Hillary Clinton simply could not reach in the 2016 map. And that spelled victory in a sharp contrast with appealing for unity, for calm, as he has in the last 48 hours.
And Casey Hunt is here. Concession is normally the opening to transition. Are we going to see that?
I think we're all going to be watching to see what Republicans do here, and they have a real challenge in trying to manage a president who has been ruled, it seems, by his emotions and who has fed into the chaos. So I would expect some Republicans to focus on letting what Chuck mentioned, there's still going to be a process that plays out in the states. Obviously, Republicans have talked about legal challenges. I'm going to watch to see how long and how far Republicans are going to be willing to entertain that. Clearly, current President Trump has a lot of support. There were a lot of Americans who voted for him here, but I'm not sure that there's going to be sustained support for that. And, just to pick up on what Andrea was saying, I've been watching all of this, and you think about what got Joe Biden into this race and how, everyone in Washington has looked at this president. He has said repeatedly that the events in Charlottesville and the president's unwillingness to be very clear on matters of race are what got him into this in the beginning, that he was something of a reluctant candidate, that his son Beau should have been the one who was running here. I mean, he has been trying, as Andrea said, to find his way into this office for decades. And that the relationships that he did build through the roles that he had in the Senate, I think are going to drive us going.
There's a mandate. There is a mandate here. And there's going to be a fight about what it is. But I'll tell you what the American people's mandate is. Heal the nation. That's Joe Biden's mandate. That's the message that was sent. Heal the nation. It's why he ran. And you know what? That is why he won.
And in those closing days, Joe Biden would often say, this is a fight for the soul of the nation. And the nation has spoken. If you're just tuning in, NBC News projects that Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States. Let's go to Kristen Welker. She's at Biden headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware. Kristen, good morning.
Savannah and Lester, good morning to both of you on this historic day. The Biden campaign has been elated since yesterday when Joe Biden pulled ahead in Pennsylvania, and now there is cause for real celebration. We are out to the campaign for reaction, none yet, but I can tell you that they have been planning for the vice president to address the nation. They have been confident that this was the news that is coming, and so what will his message be? It speaks to some of those key points that Andrea and Casey DC just talked about. Biden knows that his first and biggest challenge is going to be to try to speak to this entire nation, to all of those people who voted for President Trump, to try to unify the country. And so I am told that's going to be the theme of his message when he does, in fact, address the nation. That could happen as early as this evening. He will talk about the fact that he sees himself as a president of the entire nation and not just blue states, the people who voted for him. And that's really been a theme that has governed much of his campaign. It's something we've heard quite a lot about in these closing days. When you look at Pennsylvania, the state that delivered him this victory, where did he spend most of his time campaigning in the closing days of this campaign? It was Pennsylvania, 14 stops in all, more than any other state. Why? Because he knew that this could be the state that could be make or break for him. And so it was, and so it is. And that is why on the final day of this campaign, he visited Scranton, the place where he was born. He visited Philadelphia to encourage African-American voters to turn out in force. They didn't in big enough numbers in 2016. And so we wait for reaction from the Biden campaign on what is undoubtedly a day of celebration.
And he had other paths to get to that number, but yes, Pennsylvania put him over the top. We talk about there's so much history in all this. Kamala Harris to become the first woman of color as vice president of the United States.
It's an historic day for that reason as well. Senator Kamala Harris becoming the first Black woman to serve as vice president-elect. And so we are told that when Biden addresses the nation, if that does in fact happen this evening or later on today, she will be there with him. She will also make remarks. And so she will speak to the historic nature of this moment. And as you all were talking about there at the desk, Biden really framed this campaign as a fight for the heart and soul of the nation. And she certainly was a part of that messaging, that this is a new moment in American history, and they were hoping that would resonate.
Let's go to Andrea Mitchell, who, of course, has been covering politics. Andrea, it's going back to the 80s. There have been female vice presidential candidates. Never has there been a female vice president, and it's the first person of color to be elected vice president of the United States.
And it's so extraordinary when we think that the first woman was on the ticket in 1984, and now to see, and of course, having covered Hillary Clinton for decades, as I did, running for president, but to see the first woman vice president and the first person of color, the first woman of color, as Kristen was just saying, it is overwhelming in a way to think of the barriers that have been broken, not only the glass ceiling, but in an era of such a racial reckoning in the United States, to have a person of color in the vice presidency. Having watched Walter Mondale, the first vice president who was really consequential in his partnership with Jimmy Carter, depends on whether Joe Biden lives up to his promise to have that partnership with Kamala Harris that he enjoyed with Barack Obama. There were, of course, tensions with Obama and Biden and policy disagreements along the way, but it is absolutely true that they were partners in anything. And
he talked about being the last person in the room when decisions were made with Obama. And
they really bonded through Biden's granddaughter and, of course, the president's daughter, who were basketball teammates.
They were classmates.
Friends.
Yes, cool.
And then, parent-teacher conferences that they did together. And also, of course, through the illness and the death of Beau Biden, when President Obama reached out to the vice president and offered to pay his mortgage so he wouldn't have to lose his house paying the medical bills. All of that really is part of the character of Joe Biden. And I think that for any tensions that might have existed during that first debate and any presidential ambitions that she clearly has, as with the oldest elected president, she is obviously the front runner for any future Democratic leader, and that's going to be inevitable. They're both politicians. They're both ambitious.
We're not allowed to talk about the next election.
I would like to let's certify this one.
But let me just say that the point I'm trying to make is that they are going to be full partners, I believe, in this.
Well, they have to be. I mean, I would just say that if they're not, they're going to have some governing challenges. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Joe Biden's going to be taking office at a moment of history where we're as a country, we're extraordinarily divided, and we're sort of hurt, pain, whatever metaphor you want to come. We need to heal the nation, both figuratively and literally with COVID. But I would guess that the closest corollary we have is probably 76. Jimmy Carter comes in. We were an extraordinarily divided nation.
And Joe Biden is almost this combination of Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford. He's got the political he's got the political acumen of a Jerry Ford who understood Washington, the empathy and honesty and integrity and character of a Jimmy Carter. And so what Joe Biden, and I think this is what will be interesting to watch, this partnership. On one hand, Biden comes in, he's here to be a healer, and he's also the inside guy. Kamala Harris as a partner, she's there to sort of keep the progressives and sort of, the outside activists also, in a governing partnership. It's going to be interesting. If it's effective, that's what it'll look like. If it's ineffective, then we'll see the results.
She's also a bridge to a new generation, I think, inside the Republican Party. You think of the arc of history that Joe Biden has seen in his political career, but we are, in fact, moving potentially forward, and he needs someone to help him do that.
Well, let's find out what the Trump White House is saying this morning. We've got Hallie Jackson on duty. I was just glancing at the popular vote. Yes, NBC News has projected that Joe Biden has won the election, but 70 million Americans voted for Donald Trump, 74 million approximately for Joe Biden. Where is the White House on this call, and where is the president right now?
Physically, Savannah, he is not here at the White House. President Trump, right now, as this race is being called by NBC News, is at his golf course in Virginia. This is not the rebuke of Trumpism that some of the president's critics had hoped, but it is a defeat for the president. And it is one that over the last 24 hours, aides, advisors, and other sources that I've talked to have come to a realization about. I believe you're looking at some video of the president in the motorcade on the way to that golf course earlier today. The president, even as recently as within the last hour, has been defiant about this election's results, tweeting that he won this election. He clearly has not. That is not the case either with the popular vote or, of course, with now that 270 electoral college vote threshold. A tweet so misleading and incorrect that Twitter again slapped a warning label on it, basically hiding it to prevent it from spreading further. You're taking a look now at the scene that is just outside the White House where I am, and it is people in Black Lives Matter Plaza. That's what it's called here in Washington. It's just outside the fencing that's been put up at the park in front of the White House. That crowd has been getting bigger, and when the race was called, there was a cheer that erupted from that plaza. I can tell you that as I departed here at, midnight last night, they were blasting news reports of the race. There are folks outside in D.C. are listening to the returns, and they have been for the last day or so. Elsewhere in D.C., you heard cowbells, you heard honking, you heard cheering. It's obviously a very Democratic city, politically leaning for people here, so that is not particularly surprising. I will say that for the Trump campaign, we have heard nothing yet. I have reached out, our team has reached out to contacts in the campaign for reaction here, but the legal fight, their perspective is that the president, and we know this, is going to keep on fighting until he has exhausted every possible recourse. In fact, as we speak, up in Philadelphia, there's set to be a news conference with some of the president's top advisors, Rudy Giuliani, Corey Lewandowski, Pam Bondi, about the legal push that they're mounting in that state. It looks like an uphill climb. The campaign so far has presented no evidence to back up any of its claims, not just to the news media, but to judges who have dismissed these cases in other states like Georgia and Michigan. This is a blow, obviously, for President Trump. It is a reality that he is going to need to face. I was told at about 10 o'clock last night by a couple of folks close to the president that he understood that he saw the writing on the wall, the writing that is now on the wall this morning here on NBC News as we've called this race. The question is, what happens next? I understand that he has no plans to concede until the recounts, the canvassing, the certification process has been finished in these battleground states. The latest deadline for that is December 1st, I believe. But anybody waiting for a concession from President Trump is going to be waiting quite a while longer, I believe. This is a president who has been inaccurately, incorrectly, and misleadingly claiming that this election has been, in his view, stolen from him. Again, there is no evidence of the fraud that the president is talking about, no evidence of widespread fraud or systemic problems. It is likely that he will continue to keep up that messaging and that narrative. Now, will he speak with reporters? Will we be able to see the president, the current president of the United States, at some point today? It is possible. There is always a group of people traveling with the president. It is not out of the realm of possibility that pool, that group of reporters could be called as the president makes remarks. We are still working to find out what the plan is, when he might come back to the White House here. We do expect that, obviously, at some point throughout the day. But at this moment, This is the worst case scenario that the Trump campaign had been bracing for. I think people around the president's orbit knew this was coming and were trying to prepare him for this news as well, Savannah.
Yeah, and Casey, you've been talking to your sources on the Republican side of things. How do you see this playing out over the next few days? Hallie just reported it's very unlikely we're going to get a concession call from President Trump. How will this go forward, do you think?
That makes sense. And I think that my sources are likely expecting that to happen. But I think the challenge for Republicans and the push that we're going to see behind the scenes is to get the president to lay low for the next day, to not inflame tensions further, to try and focus on, and in some ways it's what Joe Biden has been saying, trust the process, do the work. I think they're going to say to him, if your legal challenges, if they show evidence, if you go to court and there are legitimate questions to be raised, we will support you in that. We will focus on it. We will talk about it. But I think there is also an understanding that once it is clear that all of those avenues have been exhausted, they're willing to give the president a little bit of time to prove it, but it's not going to last forever. And they're going to be ready to say, okay, we're ready to accept these results.
Keep an eye. Reports of celebrations in the streets here in New York, obviously a heavily blue city. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I think we've got some pictures of supporters. I think that's the White House there is what you're looking at. But we've got
keep an eye on Republican elected officials today who do congratulate Joe Biden, who reach out. I wouldn't be surprised if Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden talked today before Joe Biden and Donald Trump talked.
We're just showing you various scenes. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Trump supporters, a spontaneous reaction there. We've seen it outside the White House. We're seeing people running into the streets in Manhattan, obviously, a very...
I think we're all getting reports in different towns going, horns are honking and things like that.
Kristen Welker right now at the Biden headquarters, who's got a little more information on their reaction. Kristen?
That's right, Lester. We're beginning to get reaction from some top Democrats. One top official from the former Obama-Biden White House writing to me that they are ecstatic. The nightmare of 4 years has come to an end. I'm quoting here, the healing and rebuilding of the soul of America begins. Another Democrat reaching out to say that this underscores that they were able to rebuild the blue wall in the Midwest. When the story of this election is written, it will undoubtedly include that fact that Joe Biden won back those critical Midwestern states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and of course in the Rust Belt now, Pennsylvania. Remember, Hillary Clinton didn't carry them back in 2016, and that was to some extent what they were holding out for. On that election night, they kept saying to reporters, the blue wall will hold, the blue wall will hold. Well, it didn't hold, and she lost the election. So from the perspective of Democrats, they have won back that territory that they so sought to defend back in 2016. The question becomes, now what? How does he reach out to those people in the Midwest, throughout the Rust Belt, who still feel as though they have not come back from this recession that the country has fallen into? How will he bring those jobs back? That was a key part of his platform, but he's always said he needs to address and fight COVID before he can do that. So again, Democrats expressing their reaction. Even as you report, there is elation and celebration from DC. I'm getting that as well from Philadelphia and New York, where you all are.
And the question then becomes, how will President Trump govern as a lame duck president?
We're in the middle of a crisis. I mean, one of the things, in 5 days, we've gone from an average of just under 100,000 cases. We're sitting at 126,000 a day. We might be at 200,000 before Thanksgiving. Are we really going to have this lame duck period where we just sit back and wait for a new Congress and a new president? Or are we going to see some? I mean, that cooperation, to me, that is the most critical near-term issue, which is managing the pandemic and this transition.
Managing the pandemic and also getting COVID relief. I mean, this is something Republicans and Democrats, Casey, you know it so well, have been fighting over, right? Hoping that the election would resolve it one way or the other. But ironically, the election just asserts that it's divided government.
That's absolutely right. I mean, we're still waiting ultimately on the outcome of the Senate. It's possible it could go either way. But in the meantime, while there are so many Americans waiting for relief, Republicans are going to control the Senate. I do think there is a significant appetite in Congress, to Chuck's point, to do something, to get a big sweeping piece of legislation. But the president's unpredictability is just an incredible X factor.
Hey, see, don't the Senate runoffs here, if you're Mitch McConnell, you don't want to suddenly have more gridlock in the midst of what is going to turn into this national fight for control of the Senate in 2 months, down in one state that, oh, by the way, is moving against the Republicans. If you're Mitch McConnell, you want to make COVID relief not an issue.
The incentives are lined up to do something.
And I think also you're going to see, we have been told there are going to be some important cabinet changes. The Pentagon the defense secretary may be fired or resign before he can be fired. That is our reporting, as well as possible executive orders. There's a lot on the intelligence front. There's a lot that President Trump can do in the next 2 months.
How much can President President-elect Biden, reach across the aisle, olive branch? How much will the left of his party allow him to build a bridge?
I think in the interim that he has free running. I want to say one other thing quickly about Kamala Harris. She identified as a young woman of mixed background as Black. She went to an historically Black college. This is an enormously important moment for Howard University and all the other historically Black colleges, for AKA, for the Black sororities. There is a cultural phenomenon now in the White House that we have never seen before, that's high profile at the highest levels of government, and that is going to be felt. Just think of the example, the role modeling for Black women, Black girls, Black men and boys.
I've talked to Dr. Frederick of Howard University about this.
Exactly. I remember that interview on Meet the Press.
This is just so important. It means so much to Howard. It means so much to these institutions. And this just could be such an interesting moment for these institutions to really thrive in this generation, with Kamala Harris as sort of this North Star.
And there's been a lot of fear in the Black community over the last 4 years. And this, I think, provides some hope, Kamala Harris's role.
Let's go to Kristen Welker, who, of course, is at Biden headquarters this morning. Kristen, we should get you in on this conversation. The question of what kind of governing agenda Biden will feel he has. We've made the observation that at the moment the election stands for Joe Biden being elected president and Republicans gaining seats in the House and the Senate in suspended animation. Will it end up being controlled by Republicans or Democrats? How does that dynamic affect what Joe Biden wants to do and who he chooses for his cabinet, for his Secretary of State, for his Secretary of Defense, and so on?
Well, he certainly isn't going to be able to choose people who will be flashpoints, given what our understanding of the makeup of Congress and the Senate will be. Savannah, you're absolutely right about that. When you think about his agenda, though, let's tick through some of the key things that he wants to accomplish. He's talked about criminal justice reform, addressing the protests and the core issues of those protesters, barring chokeholds, for example, for police officers. He's talked about building on Obamacare. Now, that gets very complicated because, remember, the Supreme Court is going to hear a case about Obamacare, could potentially overturn it. He's talked about rebuilding Obamacare. This is one of the questions I asked him during the debate. What do you do if it gets tossed out? How do you rebuild that when your plan really focuses on starting from where we are right now? So that could be a real challenge, and he's going to have to work with Congress on that. And then think about his climate change plan. This is a $2 trillion plan. He says it's going to bring thousands of jobs. It's going to add to the U.S. economy. He says it's a jobs plan. That's how he's selling this. But if you are Republicans, if you're concerned about running up the deficit, it's going to be very hard to get them on board. And then, of course, what we've been seeing in recent weeks on Capitol Hill, the fact that they are stalled over COVID relief, that they haven't been able to get COVID relief through, despite the fact that so many Americans feel as though they are struggling right now economically. They want their kids to get back to school. He's going to have to tackle all of this. Now, we know that he and Senator Harris had a briefing on the economy and on COVID earlier this week. He's made the point that while this race was not called, he was going to get to work because he was so confident that ultimately he would be named president-elect. But all of these different agenda items that I lay out are very tough to get through a divided Congress.
Sorry, Kristen, let me jump in here because we have breaking news out of the White House. We have heard from the president. Hallie, what do you got?
Well, it's a fairly lengthy statement, Savannah, Chuck, and Lester. It is about 3.5 paragraphs. I won't read the entire thing, but I will read you some highlights, which is that the president is suggesting that Joe Biden is rushing to falsely pose as the winner, and that the president is alleging his media allies are trying hard to help him, insisting the election is far from over. This is, frankly, the statement that I think many of the president's critics and even some around him expected him to put out when the race was ultimately called as the direction it appeared to be heading in over the last 24 hours or so for Joe Biden. The president is resisting the results of the election, despite the fact that there has been no widespread evidence of fraud. He is insisting that he will continue moving forward with legal challenges in the courts, and he is blaming, as he has often done over the last 4 years that he's been in office, the news media for something that he simply does not like. The president, as we mentioned, is currently on his golf course. As I'm going through the rest of the statement, the president insists he's not going to rest until the American people have what he describes as an honest vote count. Again, this election process has worked exactly as expected. It took a little while. We knew it was going to take a little while. As Chuck knows, we knew it was going to take a while because of all those mail-in ballots, the ballots that in some states have been gone through. There will be recount fights likely. The Trump campaign has already threatened to do a recount in Wisconsin. We know that's where Georgia has been headed. But this is President Trump, true to what we have seen from him since the campaign started for him back in 2015, 2016, defiant even in the face of the reality that this presidential race has slipped out of his fingers. It is out of his grasp. He will fight to try to get it back. He cannot. It appears the writing is on the wall. Joe Biden has the 270 electoral votes he needs. The question now, can the president actually do anything about that if he refuses to concede? Concession is not a legal requirement. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that President Trump needs to deliver a formal speech calling for unity and handing the reins of power over to Joe Biden. That is a tradition. And if there's one thing we know about this president is that he has not been traditional in the past, and he has bucked at it every turn. I will tell you that there is a fair amount of Monday morning quarterbacking going on here. There is finger pointing now, as we have seen for quite a while with this White House, finger pointing over what some critics see as a sloppy strategy. People even close to the White House concerned that this legal push was a long shot from the very beginning, wondering why there wasn't a more sort of forceful face and forceful figure heading that push, given that was where it seemed to be headed even, Monday, Tuesday, last week, as it looked like the race was going to be very close. So the factionalism is happening here. The question is what the president does next. Does he lay low for a couple days? I would frankly be surprised to see that, given the defiance of the statement now out from the Trump campaign. I will say, too, as the transition now is upon us, we have, I believe, 74, if my math is right, 75 days until Inauguration Day. President Trump is still the president. And this transition is going to be very closely watched. It is possible that the president will try to shake things up. It has long been discussed, long been speculated that perhaps he would fire people like his defense secretary, Mark Esper. NBC News has reported that Secretary Esper has prepared a letter of resignation, according to 3 defense officials. There are questions of whether the president will try to use these last 2+ months in office to issue a series of executive orders, for example, trying to use the power that he still has on his way out the door, essentially, perhaps issue some pardons to people in his orbit. So it could be a turbulent couple of months until the middle of January, when President-elect Joe Biden will be sworn in just down Pennsylvania Avenue from where we are.
The statement is highly troubling.
Well, it is, and it is also completely of a piece with what he's been signaling. In August, he said, I will claim that there is fraud if I lose, and today he is claiming that there is fraud if he loses. I just want to mention that NBC News is not alone. We are not the only news organization to come to this conclusion based on the evidence, including the Associated Press and Fox News. So when the president talks about his media allies, or the Joe Biden's media allies, his media allies also have called this race. Let's show your work.
Sure.
Let's explain why it is that the NBC decision desk has come to this conclusion, and the states that are involved here.
The irony is, he says beginning Monday, the lack of urgency. If there really is something, I don't mean that, and it was issued from the golf course. So I don't mean to say that sort of, I almost think that's an important, if there was seriousness to this, a belief in this, do you delay? My point is that it's clear this is political posturing.
These are the numbers, but in fairness, if he is within the threshold of a recount in one or more states, he is well within his rights, and there is nothing wrong with him pursuing that recount. If he believes there is fraud, he is well within his rights to prove it in court, and that process can go and can unfold.
Yeah. But let me just remind you of something here. The problem he has, that the president has in order to do this. So he's going to pursue, let's take this, we got a Wisconsin recount that he wants to pursue. Pennsylvania recount, perhaps, and right now,
we are just above the threshold. It's a 0.5% in Pennsylvania. Right now, it's just above the threshold. We actually expect Joe Biden's lead to continue to grow a little bit more. And then as the provisionals come in, it's possible that it goes back into the recount threshold inside of Pennsylvania, less than 0.5%. But we're talking 20,000 votes separating. That's the point we were making about Wisconsin. The best example, maybe 1,000, 1,500 votes can you find in a recount. Look at the Florida recount. You could argue maybe they found 1,000 at the end of the day. It was about a 12 or 1,300 vote lead that eventually got down to 537. To find 21,000 votes in Wisconsin, 30,000 votes there. Even the 6,000 votes or 8,000 votes that they would need out of Georgia in a recount there, let alone what would happen in Arizona. So the point is, when you start to look at this, Savannah, you held up a note. You go, would this be a 5-front war? The point is that that's it. And by the way, with also cross currents, you got to argue in one place to limit some ballots being counted in certain states because they help the president's case. But then in other states, he's going to want to expand the counting on that or expand provisionals,
I think you've
particularly
explained
in
it fairly well, but for Joe Biden right now, he is leading in all of the relevant battleground states except for North Carolina. But even if Pennsylvania were to somehow disappear, and obviously NBC News does not believe that to be the case, he still has the potential Georgia-Nevada track.
Not only
or
that,
he has an Arizona-Nevada track.
Or I believe at this point now, Georgia and Nevada.
Correct. I just looked it up.
Georgia, Arizona,
Georgia and Nevada.
Arizona,
even if he
Nevada,
loses Arizona,
right.
Georgia and Nevada would get him
any two of those three. Right. So that's and so he's got to somehow overtake all of those. And by the way, I do want to, and this is an important aspect of this story. This is the most likely now electoral vote, final electoral vote between the two, 306-232. 306-232 is what we had 4 years ago, and it sort of reinforces the point that I've been trying to make here, which is the 2016 election was not an outlier. This is a country that is divided along the lines we've been divided on, and Joe Biden won because he put together Hillary Clinton vote and the none of the above vote from 4 years ago, who decided, I don't know if I want another 4 years of this. I'm going to go with Joe Biden.
I want to show
and he won the presidency.
Some folks some video that just came in to our newsroom. This is the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and we're hearing this story. Spontaneous applause and celebration outpouring on the streets of some of these cities, which were known to be fans of Joe Biden. We saw in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in Trump country, some Trump supporters. So I think we're going to start to see, as this news on a Saturday morning starts to get out, we're going to see the evidence of the divided country we have pouring out into the streets.
Well, the
White House.
And by the way, the cities, of course, have been the more blue areas. So you're going to see a lot of cities in one place, and you're going to see perhaps a lot of anger in some.
As we saw. In Wilmington.
Americans voted, proving once again that democracy beats deep in the heart of America. With the campaign over, it's time to put the anger and the harsh rhetoric behind us and come together as a nation. It's time for America to unite and to heal. We are the United States of America, and there's nothing we can't do if we do it together. So there you see again, Joe Biden really stressing and calling for unity in this moment, acknowledging the fact that these results in these key battleground states were close, acknowledging that it is going to be up to him now to try to unify what is a deeply divided nation. In terms of the reaction that we're getting from President Trump, I think it bears reminding people and underscoring something that you said, Savannah, which is that this was not a surprise to the Biden campaign. They were prepared for this type of reaction from President Trump. In fact, they put out a statement yesterday, if I could just read that to remind people what their posture is. As we said on July 19th, the American people will decide this election, and the United States government is perfectly capable of escorting trespassers out of the White House. So to that point, defiance from the Biden campaign, from President-elect Joe Biden, who's clearly not going to be daunted by the comments of President Trump. In terms of those legal battles, the Biden campaign in the days leading up to this historic moment have called those legal challenges meritless. They've called them charades, and they say they have a team of lawyers ready to fight them. So it is significant, though, that we're getting our first reaction from Joe Biden himself as he prepares to take the mantle of president-elect. Savannah and Lester.
Kristen Welker, thank you. As we look at that crowded Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C., near the White House. And again, you saw some of the images from New York. One person described it to me as very much like the saluting the medical heroes that was a part of the COVID response. People on balconies and out of their windows celebrating. Again, these are images coming from obviously two very blue parts of this country, but a lot of passions in the streets right now.
Let's go to Michael Beschloss. We need a historian at a moment like this. And Michael, take a step back, will you? You're the historian. We're the journalists. We live in the moment. You live in over the course of time. How do you reflect on what has just unfolded?
Well, the first thing, Savannah, that occurs to me is this. Philadelphia spoke in 1787. We got a constitution and a country. Philadelphia spoke in 2020. And we've got a new president of the United States. In a way, it's really circular. And that theme of healing and unity that all of you have been talking about this morning is absolutely central. The founders always wanted us all to fight over policies. They felt that was the way of having the best country because they didn't want the United States to be like England, where all the policies were made by the king. But at the same time, they wanted us to fight over policies and over who would be a president of the United States, for instance. But at the end of the day, they wanted compromise, they wanted civility, they wanted conciliation. And, Gerald Ford's memoirs were called A Time to Heal. I think that's a perfect word for this moment. This moment could not be more of a time to heal for the United States of America.
It is after 12. We're on the East Coast. If you're just joining us, there's the headline.
So good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. If I lose to him, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will never speak to you again. You'll never see me again. Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. If I lose to him, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will never speak to you again. You'll never see me again. Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. If I lose to him, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will never speak to you again. You'll never see me again. Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. If I lose to him, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will never speak to you again. You'll never see me again. Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll...
Not a close election historically. Okay, Joe Biden's going to win with a higher percentage of the popular vote than Barack Obama did in 2012, and certainly Donald Trump did in 2016, than George W. Bush did in either of his elections. and his electoral vote's going to be north of 300 in all likelihood. So it's a significant win. And again, I think things start changing today. That intensifies tomorrow. So Donald Trump may not be satisfied, but I think Joe Biden is going to reach out to those voters. I'm sure it's one of the first things he's going to say tonight is I'm going to be a president for all of you, and speak to the fact that I know a lot of people voted against me. I know people have concerns about the election because of what Donald Trump's saying, but this is a free and fair election, and I'm going to go out there and fight with everything I have for you, which is he's going to have the toughest challenge any incoming president has had since FDR. So he needs to rally the American people, as many as he can, around some of his policy prescriptions and how he's going to lead us out of this pandemic.
And I think, too, Savannah, I mean, everything we've seen from the former vice president, now president-elect, underscores that he's likely to do what David was just outlining. This is someone who has had a sort of North Star on his campaign all the way along. I mean, he had so many people doubting him in the primary, in the general election, even his own, sometimes campaign staffers behind the scenes, wondering if he was making the right set of decisions. But he stayed true to that, even in the face of that kind of opposition. He kept saying, what's happening on Twitter does not represent what's happening everywhere. The American people want something broader than what's happening. And he ultimately was vindicated in that. And everything that we know about Joe Biden says that he is going to be someone, he has a deep, long-standing, decades-long, really, relationship with Mitch McConnell, who, may be the Republican leader, again, may not be, depending on those two runoffs. But he is someone who, when Obama was president, when we had President Obama, it was Vice President Joe Biden who was cutting deals with members of Congress and working with those relationships. So I think we are about to enter a very different era. And the cabinet question is still an open one, I think, partly because control of the Senate is not determined yet. So the kinds of cabinet nominees that Joe Biden could get through a Democratic Senate might be different than the ones he could get through a Republican Senate. But I'm not sure that Joe Biden really would want. I feel like he knows who he wants in his cabinet, and it may actually line up with a Republican
Senate. Is this the signature
Senate
challenge, Andrea, for Joe Biden going forward? I mean, yes, he knows he's going to face Republican opposition. There's nothing new about that. The parties are always at loggerheads. But within his own party, he has, as Casey just outlined, a long history of rather centrist streaks. Sure. That is not where the activism in the Democratic Party is right now. How will he navigate that terrain?
Well, there are two pieces to that, I believe. The first is the transition between a hostile White House and Joe Biden. And there's some predicates for this, because when President Obama came in from George W. Bush, they were overwhelmed with how welcoming the Bush White House was to them, despite their policy disagreements over Iraq and a host of other issues. They found a roadmap. It was an absolutely professional transition. Turn the page to the transition to Donald Trump. The Obama White House went about it the way they had been welcomed. They planned all sorts of tabletop exercises. I was at the White House one day doing an interview with Susan Rice. She was about to go into a tabletop with the incoming Mike Flynn National Security Team.
On a pandemic.
On pandemic.
Yeah.
And there was nothing planned by the incoming team. They had nobody to meet with because there had been no appointments. Remember, Chris Christie and the transition had been fired. They had replaced Chris Christie with Mike Pence on the incoming transition. They were never organized on policy. It was never about policy. It was always about Donald Trump. And that has been the case. So you're going to find not only the hostility, but there are so many vacancies in the White House chief of staff and all of that. So they're going to have problems in just the transition. But there are rules. They're very well laid out, but they were never observed by the Trump team coming in.
But do you have to wait till the elections are certified?
Well, they do have transition offices that are set up even when they become nominees, but now it goes into full gear. So they're ready. The Biden team's ready, but you're absolutely right, Savannah. They're going to have to navigate AOC, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders may want the labor cabinet position. They're going to push back because they're going to say that there's a Republican.
When you're talking about mandates, though, Chuck, do you think there's a mandate for that?
No, the mandate is.
I would think the result of this election say no.
No, exactly. One of my favorite semi-battleground states, New Hampshire. And I say semi because it was one that I think the president, again, so many strategic mistakes, we're going to look back and say that he made. New Hampshire and their inability to get that back into play was one of them. But New Hampshire decidedly, voted for Joe Biden, re-elected their Democratic U.S. Senator by double digits, and below the ballot decided to hand power on a local and state level to Republicans.
The point was is that they're clearly, and I go back to the 4 years ago, none of the above vote, they didn't like Trump or Clinton and decided to vote for a third party candidate. That group of voters decidedly went ahead and chose Joe Biden, but they did not choose a Democratic Senate. They did not choose, in many cases, Democratic House members. And so that's going to be definitely that challenge. But I want to go back to something David Plouffe said, which is I do think another way to sort of suck the oxygen out of whatever the president might try to do in the agita around the election is you roll these nominees out fast.
Exactly.
I think before Thanksgiving, you're going to have a government in waiting. Before Thanksgiving, and that it just, this is before the elections are certified technically. But what it does is it absolutely sucks the oxygen. It makes it like, what are you talking
Creates
about?
A sense of inevitability.
And by the way, we're going to call other states. And as more votes come in, so it's not even going to be a one-state election.
There will come a time when world leaders start calling the
in fact, Justin Trudeau.
Right.
And remember that Donald Trump went to Saudi Arabia. He did not go to Canada or Mexico, which is the tradition, to go to your neighbors. And
as your first visit.
The weirdest first visit ever, just to make Saudi Arabia your first stop.
And Joe Biden remembers 1992 in Little Rock. I was there. And they didn't get the cabinet and the White House staff nominated until Christmas Eve. It was an extraordinarily drawn-out process. He already knows what he wants, and I think he's ready to roll it out.
As you well know, the Biden transition team is already in place. I mean, those meetings are already going on. They've been going on.
Absolutely, and these are the people who have been part of his team, part of his universe, as well as presidential candidates.
But by the way, unlike Donald Trump, who couldn't reach back to a previous Republican administration to find people, which is also the struggle he had in his transition, is you had a mainstream, the establishment of the Democratic
Party. He wouldn't let the Never-Trumpers.
Right.
He vetoed them.
So in this way, putting together a government for Joe Biden, he was in the previous Democratic government himself. So these are already veterans. And look, he's going to bring in new people because I do think you need to have a new generation. And it isn't just about appearance sake to have a new generation. I think it needs to be real. I think, no more of these, these glass ceilings need to be gotten rid of on all of these cabinet posts. So there's no doubt that we're going to see a lot of that stuff shattered. But I think it is also going to be about finding that balance and being responsive to the electorate as a whole.
I do think that there is going to be a significant focus on, Chuck, I think you were suggesting the diversity of Joe Biden's cabinet. I think that is one thing that Democrats on Capitol Hill, but also across the country, they're looking to see themselves represented.
You probably have a woman defense secretary, Michelle Flournoy.
And possibly
she worked in the Pentagon in the Obama administration.
Possibly the first woman Treasury Secretary, the first woman Defense Secretary, sort of these last sort of, for some reason, relics, if you will, and just that stuff. And by the way, you shatter that stuff, and at the same time, you can still strike your ideological balance. And that's what he's going to have to do. It's not going to be easy, and he's going to have to strike this balance, but he does have in the same way Barack Obama was able to strike that balance when he came in because he had a crisis immediately. And it was sort of like, look, you may have your issue that you really want. Come on, you've got to appoint this person, the deputy undersecretary of X. You're like, we don't have time for that right now. This time it's a pandemic. We don't have time for the little fights. And I think that also will benefit Joe Biden's ability to get the first cabinet that he wants, put it that way.
We're showing you images that are coming into our newsroom from around the country, from Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C., and Harrisburg in Pennsylvania. Those are some Trump supporters, and we'll continue to monitor those images. Let's go to Kristen Welker. She's at Biden headquarters getting reaction. And we mentioned, Kristen, already that Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, has reached out to Joe Biden, the president-elect. What else are you hearing?
Let me read you what we're hearing from Justin Trudeau, and then let's talk about the broader context of how the world is reacting. Savannah, Justin Trudeau writes, "Congratulations, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Our two countries are close friends, partners, and allies. We share a relationship that's unique on the world stage. I'm really looking forward to working together and building on that with both of you." Look, President Trump was someone who ran on an America First foreign policy, and that is how he governed. And so some of America's traditional relationships with its foreign allies have been strained throughout the Trump administration, something that he would acknowledge. And felt quite proud of. Frankly, he pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. He pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. These are things that Joe Biden has said he wants to rejoin. He said he wants to negotiate a better Iran nuclear deal. But just to give you a sense, and think about NATO. President Trump had a number of NATO summits which were quite tense at times. You recall that one moment where you had several world leaders who were talking about the president behind his back, mocking him. That was caught on camera. And that was something that, from the perspective of President Trump, he saw as a badge of honor. He would argue, look, he forced those NATO member countries to meet their commitments when it comes to foreign defense spending. But on the other hand, his critics would argue that some of America's most traditional relationships have been strained and that has been a challenge for America's strength on the world stage. And at the same time, embracing some of America's foes or those with whom America has had strained relationships with, like Vladimir Putin, like Kim Jong-un. Now, Biden has said, if you want to take North Korea as an example, that he would not meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. President Trump has met with Kim Jong-un 3 times and still no nuclear deal, still no agreement for nuclear disarmament on the part of North Korea. So I think you are going to see a very different relationship with America on the world stage than we have seen in the past 4 years. It will be up to the historians to determine how that plays out. But Joe Biden has been very clear. He sees this very differently. He sees America's place on the world stage very differently. He does not subscribe to the America First foreign policy. I also want to make one more note, which is that Joe Biden has changed his Twitter handle. It now says President-elect, guys.
All right, Kristen, thank you. Let's go to Hallie Jackson now at the White House. Are you hearing any reaction from those in the president's inner circle, Hallie?
We are this morning, this afternoon, Lester. And a couple of things here. It has largely, I will tell you, been radio silence at this point. I think that I get the sense people are reeling from what I think folks knew was coming, but it is still the reality that they are now facing, save for 2 things, right? One, that inflammatory and misleading statement put out by the president this morning. The other, a press conference happening right now as we speak, actually up in Philadelphia, up in Pennsylvania, where the president's advisors are making baseless claims of fraud and continue to do so, with, interestingly, Rudy Giuliani confirming now what we have been reporting for the past 24 hours, that the president is not going to concede with this legal fight now ongoing. I have to tell you, though, there are others who get where we are right now, who understand where the Trump White House is. One person close to the White House called this the great anticlimactic ending that folks have been seeing for several days. The focus now is really shifting to people thinking about themselves, their own futures, with a White House official telling us that a lot of people are coming to terms with this. They're starting to think through the transition, where they're going to go starting in January. And a senior campaign aide lets our team know, too, that there is still some work to do. As we've been talking about, and as you've been talking about there on set, the question is, how does this transition look for President Trump? He is likely, based on my experience in the last 5 years covering him from Inauguration Day in 2017, he's likely to fume. He is likely to continue to push conspiracy theories about the election results. It may be a turbulent couple of months here. I will tell you too, Lester, right when the race was called by NBC News and other outlets, you couldn't hear what was happening on Black Lives Matter Plaza on the park just outside of the White House where I am. You can sure hear it now. We have been hearing more honking, more air horns, more cheering. It is a loud situation. The president, this is the scene. You can see actually it's filled up. And just to give you some perspective, on the top of your screen, you can see there's a fence and then a grassy area. That's Lafayette Park, which is just to the north of where I'm standing at the White House. It has been barricaded. The gate fencing have been put up, non-scalable, officials say, because of the expectation that this would exactly be the scene on election night. We had to wait 5 days for that, right? It took a while to get here. But this is why the reinforcements have been put in place around the White House, because of the expectation of potentially protests or demonstrations like the sort of celebration that we are seeing right now. At some point, the president's going to come back to the White House, Lester. He's at the golf course now. That's just across the Potomac River in Virginia. He didn't take the helicopter. He doesn't do that since it's such a close trip. He drives through the streets in his motorcade, and he will have to motorcade back through the streets of Washington with this scene visible to him. This is not a president who often gets glimpses of life outside the bubble, so to speak. He confronted that a couple of times recently. I'm thinking most notably over at the Supreme Court after the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when people booed he and the First Lady when the two of them showed up after Justice Ginsburg was laid to rest in her there at the Supreme Court. But it is going to be, I think, a real potentially jarring moment for President Trump to see how the country is reacting to his loss as he continues to strike, frankly, this very defiant tone.
All right, Hallie, thanks. I just want to show you a picture that we're just getting in of Kamala Harris and her husband, Doug Emhoff. This is obviously reacting to the news. So, picture we wanted to share.
Glad to see the first Jewish
second,
presidential spouse,
second gentleman.
Okay, that's right. First, second, first, second gentleman. Say that real fast. First, second gentleman. I was glad to see so many Washingtonians out there wearing the mask,
wearing masks,
and peaceful.
And,
I mean,
but
I was just going to say.
By the way, we saw
be a gracious winner, be good winners.
And by the way, we saw the crowds in Harrisburg, the Trump supporters, also peaceful. So that is what we had all hoped for.
Yep, to protest is as American as you can get. To hate each other is not.
Look,
and I think that's what we need to remember as these days unfold.
It is interesting. We polled this to see how would the supporters of either side handle losing. And what was interesting is that it was the Democratic side that had their side lost. The first emotion they told our pollsters was anger. On the Trump side of things, believe it or not, his base, the first emotion they said they would feel if Trump lost was disappointment. And the point is this: you do get that sometimes, which is you're more angry at something that you couldn't attain. You may be more disappointed at something you've had and then lost. So there is, I am very hopeful and optimistic that for the most part there is going to be détente.
Let's talk to Casey about what's happening on Capitol Hill and in particular what Republicans are saying either behind the scenes or what you're getting from your sources about this moment, this time before the president is willing to concede, but after the race has definitively been called for Joe Biden.
This is going to be, I think, a tenuous and potentially a difficult period, depending on how the president handles it for a lot of Republicans. We have not heard very much yet. I've been sitting here scanning through email, looking for statements coming in from Republicans or tweets. We have not yet heard very much. We had a call from Justin Trudeau. I'm looking to see if we're going to get news of a Biden call with Mitch McConnell. So far, nothing along those lines. So I do think that they are going to face a reckoning with this president, and how they respond to what he does in this period is going to be pretty critical. We're also,
Casey, I'll give you a John Cornyn response.
Republican senator from Texas.
Georgia Senate
Yes,
races?
the first thing what was submitted by any Republican senator right after the call, John Cornyn on Georgia, Democratic majority in the Senate would cinch the radical agenda of the left. They must be stopped on January 5th in Georgia. The point is that is the way that some elected Republicans will be able to sort of straddle the Trump base who may have some anger about them, and working with a Biden administration and accepting the fact that that is what's coming. They concentrate their efforts on the political fight.
Sort of move past
exactly, and this is sort of President Trump's problem here. If he wants the party to rally around him to contest this, the rest of the party is going to move on to say, no. We want to make sure we have divided government over here.
And for those folks who may not have been following every single twist and turn, the presidency has been decided. Obviously, Joe Biden is the president-elect. In the Senate, we still don't know who will control the Senate. Will it be Republicans or will it be Democrats? And it may well hinge on a couple of very tight Senate races in Georgia that are headed to runoffs.
Yep.
And that is why we're talking about this period not only being a lame duck period for the president and a period of transition for Joe Biden, it is also an extended election campaign with no less than the control of the United States Senate at issue down in Georgia.
Right. And, we shorthanded as control of the Senate, but here's what it really means. It's the difference between Joe Biden having a mandate for calm and normalcy, which it's very clear he already has, and perhaps return to the status quo, and him being able to implement sweeping big policy changes. And also, it's going to have a huge impact on how he is able to govern, whether the cabinet that he can get is the one that he wants. Because if Mitch McConnell is still controlling the Senate, remember, they have gotten rid of, in recent years, the filibuster. Now, what does that mean? It means they only need 51 votes for this. And so Republicans would be able to block with their majority Joe Biden's cabinet nominees, any future Supreme Court nominees. So what Democrats are looking for here is they're looking to see, is Mitch McConnell going to blockade all of that? Because Joe Biden's first 2 years as president look very, very different if Republicans control the Senate than they do if Democrats are going to be able to pull out these 2 races in Georgia. So we are all going to be focused on that for the next couple of months. And Republicans, you can already see them, Chuck, to your point, they're saying, if this is a radical administration, we got to put a check on this radical left. That also, I think, is going to be something that the Biden team is thinking about. They're not going to want to give any indications. They're going to want to protect themselves from that accusation in the next 2 months.
And let me just say, as Casey, you know so well, Joe Biden lived through that first couple of years as vice president with Mitch McConnell. On day one, there's an anecdote very widely reported, which is accurate, of that meeting that they had in the Capitol Grill and the dedication, determination to block everything that the Obama-Biden team did from day one, and they were successful. And we saw it most recently, played out, of course, in Supreme Court confirmations, but it was from day one, everything was a struggle. Joe Biden knows very well the difference between control of the Senate.
He does. I will also say, though, that Mitch McConnell has a lot on the line here. If he does control the Senate, he is going to need to hang on to it, and that may mean he's incentivized to do.
By the way, it's a narrow majority no matter what. Okay,
yeah.
And so let's not forget that. And you're going to have Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins immediately be 3 people who want to work with the Biden administration and get caught working with the Biden administration.
I want to go to a presidential historian, author, and NBC News contributor, John Meacham, who joins us now. John, we have seen changes of party and power in the White House, but this is a change of tone. It's a change of temperament, not only literally, but certainly in perception. Have we been down a road quite like this before?
I think this election will ultimately rank with 1860 and 1864, where Lincoln was elected and reelected. It's certainly like 1932, when the tone of the country changed like this, from the dour Herbert Hoover to the jaunty and confident Franklin Roosevelt. This is a moment not unlike 1960, when President Kennedy brought in a new generation with, by the way, a much smaller majority than a President Biden will now have. Character is destiny, and it's both the character of the president and the character of all of us. And in many ways, the presidency is a tension between being a maker of our character and a mirror of it. And what I think a lot of us are hoping today is that Biden's victory is a mirror of at least a 51% win for what Lincoln called our better angels versus our worst instincts. And that's what history is. It's a push and a pull. And I think that in many ways, for a lot of the reasons that you all are talking about, Joe Biden may be the perfect man for this moment, because I've got Springer Spaniels who are more radical than Joe Biden. That's just not who he is. And so it's not going to be this socialist swerve. And I know we're going to be divided. I know the partisanship is going to be sulfurous, but it can't be as sulfurous as it has been. And I believe ultimately, Benjamin Franklin left the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Well, important woman said, well, Mr. Franklin, Dr. Franklin, what have you given us, a monarchy or a republic? And he said, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. And I think we kept it with this election.
I'm just thinking about Twitter. We've had for 4 years a president that communicates primarily through Twitter. How will it be with Joe Biden?
Not that way.
I will just say normal.
He won't fire his Secretary of State or Defense on Twitter.
Let me ask you, John, because you not only are a historian, but I know you're a man of deep faith. This is a moment where a nation needs healing. And how do you think Joe Biden sets about that most important work?
So important. The Bible says to everything there's a season, a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to tear down, a time to build, and a time to heal. And healing is not something that just comes out of the blue, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm going to heal. And I think this is why Biden's character is particularly apropos here and fitting, because healing begins with a recognition of the other person's position, of why the wounds are here. What is it that's been off in our national life, in our place in the global world, in our hopes for the future and our fears and anxieties about it? And Biden gets that, right? This is not a blue state president. I know it feels that way sometimes, but this is a guy from Scranton. He labor unions. It means a lot to him that the folks he grew up with still get him, and he wants to get them. And so I think if we can get to more of a conversation than a constant machinery of conflict, I think that's where some healing can begin.
John Meacham.
That work begins today.
Thank you. Again, NBC News projects that Joe Biden is now president-elect of the United States. Kamala Harris is vice president-elect as they pass the 270 electoral vote threshold.
This has been a moment of democracy in action. More people have voted this year than in a generation, even during a pandemic, even at a moment of great division in this country. Democracy is still with us, and we are watching its fruits as we speak. We will come back on the air as events warrant. For now, for everyone here at NBC News, thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing this moment with us, and we will see you soon.
All right. They say enough of all the pageantry, all that old, again, their words not mine, all that posturing and carrying on, enough of that. Right? Enough of all of that. Of course, that little media run on, of them, again, doing what they do best. And trying to shape a narrative. Of course, again, it's not, nothing necessarily wrong with them trying to, position people to accept, this kind of newfound reality of a Joe Biden particular or potential presidency, but more so how they're still trying to use this all-inclusive galvanized, snake oil that, everybody's life is now, saved, so to speak, right, from the perils of, I don't know, again, a Trump president, but again, American problems didn't go away because you elected, another guy. The problems here did not, morph into, cotton candy and, Tootsie Rolls and all that, right? No, it did not, right? For the most part, the civil war that they were trying to thwart may just be the one thing that obviously comes back even harder because the vitriolic energy where people cannot accept defeat. And of course, then if you, keep trying to convince people that, they're getting urinated on and it's rain, through benefit, lack of benefits, lack of real true merit, merit and leadership. And then of course, it's all going to come back and, hunt them anyway at some point, right? So again, like they said, I think one analyst up there or a newscast, whatever, commentator said, now you're gonna have to go to work. You're gonna have to, you're gonna have to actually go out there and prove that you're not finna go back to doing politics as usual, right? Again, y'all, I use that a lot when they're on that Jay-Z, right? Politics as usual, right? The old school Jay-Z, right? For the young ho, right? Right? Politics as usual, right? You can't go back to that, right? Because you've already, the country's already seen that from a very, exposed position. You can't go back to the usual, right? So it's going to be interesting to see again, of course, how they go about, their little so-called, political theater, over these next 4 years or however. Of course, all this symbolism, of course, they putting that out there out the gate. They're just not letting anybody get away from the political, window dressing, like I keep saying, with these so-called candidate, a black woman. She's not. Stop with that. First of all, but of course they're gonna beat that drum because they know people want to get gaslit to get excited about something like that. All right, some people out there who can't think for themselves are going to be like, yeah, you're right. That's right. She speaks for black people. She know our struggles. She's blah blah blah. Right, and it's gonna be the same breath. And it's something weird you're gonna use her as a case study because a lot of people gonna look at her the same way in terms of the Jewish community because they know she's not a Jewish woman. Right, the Jewish community, of course, her husband is Jewish. Right, his kids are Jewish. They're not biracial. They're Jewish children. So their ideology, in case in that, of course, going off script, and, marrying, this somewhat, different woman here. What's that all about? You don't speak for us, right? People are gonna push back regardless. But my point in saying all that, they're gonna push back regardless. But again, one thing we do know, again, like I said, the problems are still going to be there in terms of overall macro aspects of the country. No matter who you send to Washington, if they're going to really do something, they're going to have to do something on a large, grand scale. On a large, grand scale, to really get people to at least buy into their agenda, because it can't. I mean, again, it just cannot go back to being the same old, right? I mean, as you see on the TV, I mean, Real Housewives. I mean, it's trash, right? This kind of stuff. This is the trash stuff I'll be talking about. As people spend 2, 3, 5, 6, 8 hours binge watching this garbage, and then they'll, no, I don't need to be worried about, getting no money right now. I just need to go watch this fake garbage, y'all. These old, yeah, these plastic people, parade around as if that's like a badge of honor to want to, aspire to be. Of course, these are just my opinions. I have to keep saying that, right? But again, that's what makes America what? A funny place, right? A funny place, right? It makes it a funny place to be in. Either way you look at it, this is one funny place. And you can't convince people otherwise that is anything less than that, because, that's just how they view it, right? That's just how they view things. It's just how they view things. Right? So yeah, so it's about to be, like I say, on and as they say, it's going to be on. Right? So, okay, we've pretty much hit every valid point that we need to have discussed, up until today, in terms of preempting our strike for as the market goes. And it's still, of course, it's still early, but we'll see what happens tomorrow around about 6 p.m. when the futures market open up. If Bitcoin is in the indication, yeah, we may have a little pullback, rip, dip, then dip and rip, or it might just be a dip and no recovery. Not that it won't just keep on forever, but it'll give back some of those gains that it picked up, over the past week. But as of now, again, weekend Wall Street is still showing strength. They got this market, again, still sitting up here, feeling good about itself. Again, 109 points so far on weekend Wall Street, with the news that's out at this point in terms of, a president-elect Joe Biden. Right. So that's the ammunition that we work with until we have more tangible data. Of course, we've done all the other stuff, going through the option flow chart, looking at the SPY calls. We did that last night. Showed you that big imbalance between calls to puts, meaning people who are short the market and who are long the market. And there was a ton of people who've been trying to short the market all last week. And majority of those people got ran over with spiked tires. They got ran complete slap over with spiked tires, trying to short the market, and the market just wanted to do what? It just wanted to go up, right? Markets, I just want to go up, right? I don't care about anything else. I just want to go up. And, obviously the continuation is still to happen. Still happening. Look where we're at right now. We're up 111 points in terms, it's theoretical, of course, because it still has to be, these orders have to hit the tape come futures market Sunday. And even more so, all of the cash market comes Monday, 9:30. So this can either increase, or it can stay the same, or it can reduce itself, or it can just go red. Of course, the obvious is right. That's the obvious. But if Wall Street were any kind of indicator in itself in terms of how they was valuing this election cycle, they were already feeling good about Joe Biden being the president for them. Again, I posted some of those my previous videos when I was talking about maybe this is President Trump's last little pump, right? His last little pump attempt to pump the market. Of course, that's what he took as a badge of honor for him in terms of being in that seat, that the stock market was his barometer of success. The stock market was a barometer of his success. Why would he put that much emphasis on a corporate environment and not so much on the real true public Main Street environment? Because those people were very generous to the ideal of his his situation. They was like, okay, we're gonna make some money. You just go out there and cheerlead for us. Right, we're gonna run the market up. We're gonna make money, so of course it's gonna look good for you. All right, it's gonna look good for you on paper. So a lot of people, of course, will sleep at the wheel when it came to the markets. As we've said a million times, it's becoming a broken record. But I think in being repetitive and speaking about it from that perspective, eventually somebody's going to start, to say, you know what, man, let me look into this again. Let me look into this. Right? These people keep making all this money when the market, crashes or goes through these little so-called anomalies and and scenarios happening in and around the country, the government, this, that, third, and the pandemics and the end of that stuff. At some point, somebody's gonna say, you know what, okay, it's time for me to start. Let me get in the game, right? Let me actually get in the game for once. Because that's what's most it's what's most needed. I could say important, but it's what's most needed. People need a way, right? Not all this hopium, not all this. I'm gonna just spend my time just entrenched on my knees more or less and on my feet, right? Not using my brain, but using more so my arms and legs and backs and knees and that kind of reality. Again, people are out there, they're sold on that. They're sold on the very nature that they will not be seen as honorable if they didn't have a lot of sweat equity in their everyday life. To do anything less than that would be somewhat like cheating yourself in the system. You getting money and being able to live life on your terms and go to different places and fly to islands and whatever is somewhat like cheating in their eyes. I mean, seriously, they look at you as if you're cheating a system. Right? Hey, what do you say? Right? What do you do? Right? How do you get past that? Right. So in this case, I always say when people say, well, of course, I come out of international markets and say, how do you overturn the negative? Right? With a positive. Well, here's the results of why we are constantly perusing this, agenda in this lane. Here's some invoices. Here's some receipts. Here's what I looked at. This is what I'm constantly looking at. Could you see yourself doing the same thing to a degree? You can? Okay, great. Let's hang out a little bit longer, right? Let's hang out and, put you in some of these circles so you can start feeding off all this, inherent knowledge. That therein lies where, again, our divide from those who are willing to do as opposed to those who are sitting back watching people do stuff. That's where that comes into play. So we're gonna stay plugging. The usual. We're gonna stay plugging, right? We're gonna stay financially thugging, right? If you want to use that term, right? We're gonna stay financially thugging because we understand we get to kick in this door and it's legal. We get to kick down this door and it's legal. We get to pull money from it and it's legal. All those things are now and have been for quite a while, of course, legal. It's becoming more of a talking, it's a talking point for a lot of people. So again, we're fired up about it, and we're gonna stay working. Right? We're gonna stay building. We're gonna stay, keep trying to figure out, or stay trying to figure out how to grow it, how to grow one another, right? How to grow this situation. Of course, like I said, we got a plethora of material to give away, which we do. Books on top of 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 books. We have a ton of it, right? So, of course, if you want to learn this and whatever, shoot me an email, shoot me, or get in contact me some kind of way. Obviously, y'all know all my pertinence are very, layman terms. My Facebook business page is the same thing as my YouTube business page. Same way with my Snapchat, or not Snapchat, but Twitter scenario. Minus an A in African, but it's the same scenario, and it's the same in Instagram. Give me a ball, a call, whatever, or a message, or whatever sort of degree, and let's make it happen. Right, let's get you some information. So I think, like I said, for the most part, that'll be it for this moment. Of course, I think we got the what we felt like was coming down the pipeline anyway. Of course, they got Joe Biden on the map. Right, they got him on the map. So at this point, it's pretty much a done deal, signed, sealed, delivered. Right, markers are still up as of this hour, at least. Right, Van Jones is over there crying on CNN. What a disgraceful, whatever. Right, he over there crying on CNN. And people out here like, man, okay. See, this is why we don't take none of these jokers serious, right? And again, so far, as of now, Joe Biden has slapped up 290 votes. Still got potential even to take Georgia. Just a real big, landslide, close out victory push for Joe Biden, taking over the state of Pennsylvania, taking over pretty much, what we were saying earlier anyway, Arizona and Nevada, putting more pressure on Georgia to the point where he's now overtaking Georgia, leaving Trump, somewhere trying to figure out if they want to, go into hibernation, go down in the bunker again, how to, take off to another country, whatever. Right? It's going to be interesting next 48 hours. It's going to be a very interesting 48 hours. So we'll see if he do any kind of conciliatory speech, although I feel like he's not going to, do that without taking everything to the full exhaustion, just to act like he tried to expose fraud. So a lot of this stuff, like I said, he did it himself. His self-inflicted wounds. Telling his base not to, use the mail-in voting ballot scenario, and it's like, man, people say like, okay, I get it, Trump, we with you, but I ain't gonna risk myself catching this coronavirus. I'll just mail it in. But it's still like, no, I'll try to drive for the sake of the, I'll drive it in. True story. So like I say, that's about it, guys. So, I'm gonna shut it down here momentarily. Again, hopefully, fortunately, I will be able to come on for Sunday's Future Market pre-market show. So if I get lucky even tonight, I'll try to do something later this evening, or just say evening sometime, if things permit. Of course, we're already close by it anyway, but you guys get what I'm saying. Maybe later in this evening or nighttime, if time and and everything aligns itself. But if not, of course, stay tuned, stay hungry, stay diligent. Right? Again, shoot me an email if you need any of that material. We loaded with it. Right? Yeah, you can trade the futures market, Brother Matthew. You got to have to get access to it, though. You got to call your broker up or sign up to be able to trade the futures market. Right? That starts at Sunday at 6 p.m., the futures market. Right? Or, again, if you're a crypto trader, crypto trade 24/7, around the clock. Money being made right now. Batcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum coin, Monero, XLM, Ripple, Tron, you name it. DOT, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic. I mean, there's so many of these cryptos out there, of course, but those markets are open right now, literally right now. Right, it's being, money being made over there right now. So if you don't have that account, definitely, look into doing just that. Take advantage of your opportunities. All right, so appreciate it again. Like I said, appreciate you all. Again, stay safe out there, guys. Again, we rolling through, right? The money crats. That's it, family Sawa. That's it. Peace, power, property as well. We are the money crats. We're not sitting around waiting on no policy. We're gonna go out there and find a way to shake this tree to get this bag. Right? We are definitely the money crats. Right? We'll let the Republicans and Democrats, again, pretty much just rob its constituents. Right? It's members, but we're gonna be over here protecting, ours and growing ours. All right. So that's it, guys. So thank y'all for tuning in again. Thank you, Oba Brandon. Thank you, family Rands, Oba Rands in the building. Thank you, Oba Sawa. Thank you, brother Mathis. Right. Thank you, everybody that came through this evening. Right. Of course, the sisters came through as well earlier today. Right. Ilpa Monica, Ilpa Play Hard Adventure. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, don't hesitate. Our sister G Deb as well. Right. Overseas in the building, come through. Over Sunline in the house. Right. Everybody came through this evening. Our family Legendary 8's in the house, right? Our family Joe Smo came through actually as well. Thank you as well, family, for coming through today, right? Again, our family Oba Zane Montego came through the house today, right? Peace, power, and profit to you, Oba, right? Peace, power, and profit to you as well, right? Everybody again that had a little time on their hands to come through today, we appreciate you again immensely, right? Our family Trend Following Tyson, right, came through the building today, right? Right, that's the family in the house today. Trend Following Tyson. Right, love that family there. Right, and the family's coming through from all our little, respected corners of this, of the social media world, getting it in. Right, peace, power, and profit to everybody that showed up and showed out, and that's been showing out, I should say, especially in these markets, as we have been, as we have been finding, numerous opportunities out there. So thank you for staying true to that. Right, shout out to our family T-Bone 21 as well. Peace, power, profit to that over as well. Right. Again, we look forward to seeing you guys on the next live, right? So we can continue the same energy, right? Shout out to Oba Chris, obviously, holding it down as always in the back panel, being a consummate, sponge in himself and just taking information and going out there and just crushing it, right? Building out his situation, his goals, building out this channel, right? That's what it takes. It takes that kind of level of diligence, right? So that's it, guys. So I'm gonna get ready to shut it down here momentarily here. Hope you guys having a great Saturday thus far. The sun is actually shining in my little neck of the woods, right before the sun go down. Right, but yeah, they finna turn up in Washington D.C. tonight. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be on and popping all around all the other major cities around the country. So be careful if you are going to be out there and about after a certain hour. Right, watch out for these people that's out there trying to snipe people. And these people who are disgruntled because their guy lost. All right. Trump already done put on the gloves, right? Because Joe Biden, got his little gloves on too. So it's about to be a fight. It's about to be a fight. It's potentially definitely getting ready to be a fight. So of course, in this case, Trump is asking, man, stop the count, but start counting my votes or whatever that's like. But hey, where them ballots at, right? Where them ballots at, right? Where them ballots at? As of now, Trump is on the canvas. As of now, Trump is on the canvas, right? So we'll see if he's going to get up or just going to lay down, right? Just going to lay down, right? We'll see how that turns out for the rest of this evening. So again, stay diligent, guys. Stay hungry, right? Stay sharp. Stay true to yourself, right? Stay disciplined. Stay humbled, right? All those good attributes. Utilize these markets. Utilize this data. Figure out a way to get this bag, right? Let's keep building together, right? Let's keep taking this thing to the next level, right? That's it, guys. So until next time, peace, power, and profit, Shim Hotep, and I'll see you guys on the next live. Peace, power, profit, everybody. Peace.